Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by CacheFly. CacheFly.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the first day of March 2014. This is episode 1061. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by ShareFile. From Citrix, try ShareFile today for a 30-day free trial. Go to sharefile.com, click the microphone, and enter Tech Guy. Enhance your workflow. Send files of almost any size easily and securely with ShareFile. Make sure you use our offer code Tech Guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk about, tech, computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, and of course, smartphones. Phone number 8888-ASK-LEO, 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. You can also Skype us if you're outside those countries. And if you're using Skype out to a toll-free number, it's free, I'm told. What else? Oh, website, techguylabs.com. That's a good place to just jot that one down. You forget everything else because the phone number's there, a link to our chat room where you can join 1,000 regulars who come in every weekend, and it's so much fun. We talk, and they're kind of like the kids in the back of the class. Every once in a while, one of them raises their hand and goes, "Oh, Mr. Laporte, I know the answer." And frankly, that's great because they're like my brain externalized. They have a much better memory than I do, at least in aggregate. So that's techguylabs.com. Also there you'll find links to the audio and video of previous shows. We put that all up there for free. Text answers to the questions with all the links. That's why I want you to remember that one, and you don't have to remember any other links that you hear here because it's all on the website. And you can also add comments if you have a better idea. A lot of times you hear what I say and say, well, I had that experience and then this happened and I thought this was a better idea and blah, blah, blah. We talked a lot about Windows on this show. I mean, remember, I've been doing this since 1990. So in the early days, Windows 3, then 3.1, then 3.1.1. And so I've been talking about Windows for, 25 years and how to make it more secure. And the big change, the really big change in Windows came about with Windows XP Service Pack 2. That was the kind of the turning point for security in Windows because that's when Microsoft turned on its built-in firewall. That eliminated a lot of the really nasty problems. And then Microsoft got serious at that point, got serious about security and started aggressively patching Windows to the point now where Windows isn't anymore the problem. I mean, it is if you're still using XP because, as we've mentioned many times, come April 8th, no more patches. So you probably will want to upgrade from Windows XP soon. But if you're using a later version, Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 8, the patches have locked it down effectively. And they're always new ones, of course, new flaws. But as soon as they're locked down, it really. So attackers nowadays are going after other weak spots, things like the browser itself, because that's the thing you connected to the internet from, right? So that often is where bad stuff gets in, and then the plugins the browser uses, because while the browser is very aggressively kept up to date, even whether you use Internet Explorer or Firefox or Chrome, all three companies, really Microsoft, Mozilla, and Google, are very actively keep those secure and locked down, and really make do a good job of that. But the plugins that they run, for instance, Flash. So when you go to a site that has Flash content, that animated stuff, it loads in the Flash player from Adobe. That's been a real problem. Adobe hasn't kept that up to date. They're getting better, but they haven't kept that up to date as well as they should. So also Adobe Reader, when you see a PDF, that can be a problem. Java from Oracle, another thing that's often loaded automatically by a browser to run content on the internet. But if that content is malicious, Java just lets it right in. So there's these things where hackers are nibbling at the edges, trying to get into your system. But my security guru, Steve Gibson, he does a show on our podcast network called Security Now, brought my attention to a study that really brought something home to me. And then the other thing that happened simultaneously, You know, my girlfriend has an 11-year-old. He loves Minecraft. He loves Sonic. He runs Windows, and I foolishly set him up with Windows 7 as an administrator so he could install software. And he called me and said, he called me into the room and said, there's calves. I said, what? There's calves all over my... I don't know. Maybe this is what the kids call it today. It was calving. You know how like a glacier will calve? It will split off smaller glaciers. His screen was loaded with Windows opened up selling stuff. And I said, oh, Michael, watch out. Sit down. Let me sit down. It's going to take a while. He had, it turned out, wanted to download a copy of Sega's Sonic the Hedgehog for Windows, and went to probably download.com, I'm guessing, one of the well-known download sites. That's run by CNET. You'd think that it'd be safe. But we've seen this before. You go to download.com, and they are hosting the file, not the creator of the program, and they wrap it in a, quote, special downloader, which then, if you're not very careful, will install a lot of other stuff on your system. So he had Gorilla coupons. He had search engine modifications. He had special home pages. There were literally 8 or 9 different programs that this downloader, including 2 different special downloaders, all loaded up. Now, they're not classified as malware generally because they come from a legitimate company. They ask you permission before they install. Malware won't do that. And they have an uninstaller in the Programs and Features control panel. So they're not technically malware. I did run, in fact, I uninstalled all of them, ran Microsoft's malware removal tool. Everybody who uses Windows has a copy of that. You may not know it, but that's updated every month. And I'll tell you how to run that. And then I also ran, you know, Security Essentials, Malwarebytes, ran a lot of stuff. And I think it's okay. I think none of this was real malware. It was all adware, that kind of thing. But the next thing I did is I changed the privileges on that account. And I should have done that from the beginning. And this is the message to you. A company called Avetco analyzed all of last year's Patch Tuesday vulnerabilities, all the patches that Microsoft put out in 2013. Put out a paper, Analysis of Microsoft Security Bulletins from 2013 highlights, mitigating risk by removing user privileges, they called it. 92% of the critical vulnerabilities Microsoft fixed would be mitigated by removing admin rights. In other words, if you were running as a limited user, as you and I and we all should, 92% of those viruses wouldn't even work. 96 critical vulnerabilities affect 96%. I'm talking percentages, not numbers. 92% wouldn't work. 96% of critical vulnerabilities affecting Windows operating systems could be mitigated by removing admin rights. 100% of all Internet Explorer vulnerabilities mitigated by removing admin rights. Remote code execution vulnerabilities, 100%. Critical information disclosure vulnerabilities, 80%. 91% of vulnerabilities affecting Microsoft Office mitigated by removing admin rights. Bottom line, don't be running as administrator. Create an administrator account which you do not use. Everyone else should run as a limited user or as a standard user. Other operating systems might call it something else. On Windows, it's limited user. Run as a limited user. You'll be able to run all your programs. What you won't be able to do is install programs. But that's good because that means the virus can't either. The malware can't either. If you run as a limited user, what you'll have to do if you want to install something is log in as an admin. So I'm telling Michael, our 11-year-old, sorry, kid, you can't install anything anymore unless you ask me or mom, because we know the admin login. That would have eliminated the first problem that I had to fix, all those adwares, easily. And it would even eliminate a lot of virus activity. Really important. And I haven't taken it seriously because of Microsoft's user access control that's supposed to protect you even if you're running as an admin. Well, clearly, it doesn't. Or it's not perfect. So this would be a great thing for you to do right now if you're using Windows. Go log into your account, create a new administrator account, call it administrator, give it a different password, a new password. After you do that, change your account, the one you use day to day, to limited user. You're not going to find it a problem. It's going to be easy. Every once in a while, you're going to need to do something that requires an admin. You log in as admin, you do it, and then you log back out. Don't use admin day to day. 92% of all critical vulnerabilities, 100% of Internet Explorer and Office vulnerabilities fixed by that simple thing. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. No, I knew it. And the reason is I wanted to allow him to install stuff, and I thought that user access control, UAC, would prevent privilege escalation, because what it's supposed to do is, but you know what, as I remember, see, it works on the Mac. On the Mac, even if you're an admin, you have to give an admin password before you can do it. You have to basically sudo, right? On Windows, you don't have to sudo. You just say, okay. You click the yes. What it should be doing is saying, it's okay, fine, but tell me your admin password one more time. Or, you know, that's what the Apple does. And that simple thing is probably enough to make it worthwhile. But I forgot that Windows doesn't do that. So
the UAC stuff doesn't ask for the password again?
Only if you're a limited user. If you're not a limited user, it escalates privilege automatically. But you do have to click yes. But of course Michael clicks yes. So that was dumb of me. It was really dumb of me. To allow him to do that. But I wanted him to be, because, you know, he installs, I wanted him to be able to.
And that's how you learn.
Yeah, but what he learned, and he knows now what he learned was, but you know what? He downloaded something from CNET, from download.com. That should not, and boy, it made the computer unusable. Pop up, and there was an automatic backup program. There were 2 downloaders. There was Gorilla coupons. There was all sorts of stuff. I've never seen, it's just horrible. Fortunately, it all seemed to have uninstallers, and it all seemed to be able to be removed, and then I, of course, scanned it and everything. But it's very sad. It's very sad. And yeah, we've talked about download.com before. What I didn't do is warn him, but how would he know? So you can set up UAC to require a password? Okay, so I have to look at that. But I think the best thing to do is really just use limited user. When I set my mom years ago with Windows 2000, that's what I did. She did not have admin rights. She never had a problem, not one problem. And it was dumb. No, my kids use Macs. I never let my kids use Windows. That's why I didn't know. Michael needs Windows because he does Minecraft. No, he doesn't need Windows for that, because he does other stuff on Windows. He does Steam. Oh, I know what he does. Team Fortress 2. Yeah, lots of new shows coming up. We have a number of shows in development. Marty, Tom, emails to me are often unanswered because we just get so many, and I really, you know, I'm not a tech support person. This is kind of hard to understand. I'm not, it's like Dr. Dean probably had this problem too, where people go, oh, well, I could just email you for medical advice, and that's what you do, right? No, I am a radio host. And I do answer. I host a show, and the show, we'd like to do all the questions and answers on the air because that's the show. And I just don't, I sometimes do, but I don't have enough time in the day. I mean, literally, there's 24 hours is not sufficient. If I spend a couple of minutes on each answer to answer all the questions I get. So I apologize in advance.
And you know what I'm getting?
What?
Heather, ask Leo.
Yeah.
No, not appropriate.
Yeah. All it tells me is there's a desperate need for information, you know.
Yes.
People are dying out there. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, ready to take questions at 8888. Ask Leo. That's my phone number. Coming up in about 10 minutes at 33 1/3 after the hour. Of course, Scott Wilkinson, home theater guru. And you know, it's funny because Windows is much better than it ever was. It's much more secure. Macintosh, very secure. But Microsoft still errs a little bit on the side of convenience over security. And there's often a trade-off between convenience and security. More convenient usually means less secure. So the default on the user access or UAC, is it user access control? User UAC, which is a nice feature built into Windows, is if you're logged in as an administrator, you have all rights. On the Macintosh, same idea. If you have an administrator account, before you're allowed to install something, it will ask you for the administrator's password. Just to say, you know, Linux does this too. All right, before you do that, even though I know you're an administrator, but before you do that, can I just have that password one more time? And that usually is enough just to, you know, stop this kind of stuff cold in its tracks. Any automated install that is without your permission. You can do that on Windows, but the default is not. The default is if you're an administrator. It just gives you that pop-up, says, you sure you want to do this? And you say yes. And kids and inexperienced users will often, and me, just say, yeah, I want to do that. I said I want to do that. And that isn't enough. What it should do, and somebody's telling me in the chat room you can set it this way. Maybe Alex knows. Turn on that password request, or better yet, just operate it as a limited user. Just operate it as a limited user. That's just so much safer. And boy, that would just make everybody a lot happier. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Heather Hammond's here, the phone ranger. This is her last day before she heads to Africa. Tanzania for safari. What a great vacation that is.
Yeah, I hope so.
And you're bringing a good camera. You're going to take lots of pictures of lions. And,
I think so.
yeah. You need a long lens because I don't think you really want to walk up to that lion and say, hey, really?
Hey, lion, selfie time.
I would love to see you in a selfie with a lion.
Me too.
Put your arm around the lion. Go, come here, let's get a picture. Yeah, I'd love to see that. If you do that, what will I'll give you a nice Tech Guy t-shirt. No, don't do that. I want you back. So Kim Schaefer will be filling in for you for a couple of weeks, but have a wonderful time. That's great. You're leaving on Wednesday, I guess. Yeah. It's a long flight, I bet.
Yeah.
Where do you fly?
Amsterdam to Arusha, or Kilimanjaro.
There's an airport on Kilimanjaro?
Yes.
Wow.
We're going to just drop right down on the top.
It's quick descent. And then you hike down Kilimanjaro into beautiful Serengeti Plain and see the world.
And run with the wildebeests, yeah.
Did you have to get a lot of shots before you go?
I had a shot, and then I have a lot of medicine.
Medicines you take, anti-malarial stuff. We have a good friend who got malaria in Africa. He was in Rwanda. And came back, and he was in the United States. He felt kind of ill. And, of course, they didn't immediately just think malaria until they asked him. And he said, yeah, I was in Africa. And then they said, oh, be careful.
They're all, have you been out of the country lately?
Yeah.
Oh, that.
Oh,
yeah.
So who should I talk to first? But anyway, have a wonderful time. Who should I talk to first?
We have to talk to Tom in Simi Valley. It appears he's been hacked. A lot of my friends were hacked last week.
Really?
Yeah, I want to know about this.
That's interesting. Hi, Tom. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How are you doing today?
Well, what happened?
Well, I received a bizarre email last week from an individual named Freelance Spears. That's what is in my MSN account. That's his name attached to my email address.
Well, I'm sure that's his real name. So go ahead.
Yeah. Exactly. So the point of it is, it's coming from my email address to the same email address. So I'm thinking I'm going to block this sender, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, if I block my own email address, I'm not going to receive any of my other emails.
Yeah, no, don't block it. So first of all, I can send you an email from your address. I can send you an email from president@whitehouse.gov. All you have to do is go in your email settings and change it. It's easy. Email is not set up currently to authenticate senders. So that means it's meaningless. Where it came from is a setting. And spammers often do, in fact, well, spammers never want you to have their reply address, right? That's the last thing they're going to give you. So they will frequently use a random address or an address from a mailing list or maybe even your own address. And it's in the programs they use to send spam. It's in there. What reply address do you want to use? And they could type in anything they want. So that's the flaw in the current email system. It was not designed to be secure in that way. So don't worry about it. It's not, you've not been hacked.
Yeah, because I went in and changed all my passwords to all my email accounts, but then I received another one this morning, and I'm thinking, well, what the heck is going on?
That's a good idea to do anyway. Here's when you know you would be hacked. If a lot of your friends got emails from you, not from some made-up address, but from you, saying, this is me, and help me, give me some money. That does happen fairly frequently. Are you on Yahoo?
Yeah, I have a Yahoo, Mail, Gmail, and MSN. MSN is my main email account.
Yeah, it happens a lot on Yahoo for some reason. I very rarely see it on Gmail. Hotmail, the old Hotmail was insecure. I think Microsoft Outlook Mail or MSN Mail is much better. My main point to you is don't fear this. This is normal. Other symptoms might indicate hacking, but just ignore the from address. That's meaningless because it can be set randomly.
Okay, but now I'm going to end up getting mail from this guy forever.
No, you're not. No, you're not. I presume it's spam.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But it's for a pharmacy website.
Yeah, you can block that address, but that's why I use Gmail. You probably aren't seeing it on your Gmail account. You're seeing it on your MSN account. I think you even said that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But again, if I block that sender, that's blocking my...
No, don't block it. Report it as spam.
Report it as spam.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you don't need to block it. It won't block you. Don't block, if I blocked LeoLaporte.com, or, then that would be blocking all mail from me to me, and that wouldn't be a good thing. I wouldn't see CCs and stuff like that. But it's certainly okay to report it as spam. The from address is meaningless. Don't block the from address. If that's how you're currently fighting spam, that is not a great idea anyway. Go one by one. Don't stop using MSN Mail. If you're getting a lot of spam on it, I bet you check your Gmail. I bet you see very little spam. The way Google's spam filters work is really the best way. It's collaborative. So you'll notice on Google's mail interface, report spam. You can click anything and report spam. So what happens is enough people report a message as spam, Google says, yeah, I guess this is spam, and blocks it for everybody using Google Mail. They have other techniques too, but that simple collaborative filter works very well because humans are better, frankly, at detecting spam than any computer is. And the same thing will work on Microsoft Mail. Just report it as spam, and then hope that Microsoft has a similar collaborative technique. People, I think, often try to fight spam like they're Superman. I'm Spam Man. It's not your job, and it can't be done effectively. Use the tools that your internet service provider or your email provider provides. That's a better way to do it. And then, worst case, you could just filter it in your own email, if you get it from that character. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Home theater right after this. I'll tell you, I don't know why anybody uses anything but Google Mail. Well, I do, because people are scared of Google, but it does such good anti-spam filtering. I actually was using, as you know, I used for a long time that very, powerful server-based spam. So I'd send my mail through a server. Well, I can't remember the name of it. They were an advertiser. And I turned it off like a month ago, or a couple of months ago. Don't see more spam. It turned out that it wasn't really necessary, that because Google does such a good job, it was doing the job. And yes, the pen guy, I'm still playing Rails and I can't stop. Well, I would love to only accept mail from authenticated senders using DKIM or SFP, but that really eliminates 90% of email. I agree. The solution, and Bill Gates even said this like 10 years ago. He says, spam will be over in a year. He was wrong, but that was based on Microsoft's support of authentication technologies. But the problem is that others did not adopt it. And nobody could agree. Scott Wilkinson's Built to Talk home theater. He's just made to do it. He joins us every week at this time. Hi, Scotty.
Hey, Leo.
Good to see you. He is editor-in-chief at the AVS Forum, which really, I have to say, I'm loving the editorial stuff you're doing now at the AVS Forum. It's really great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm having a great time doing it for sure.
You had a poll last week. What was that on? I forgot. We were talking about it. You were asking people about, glasses, 3D glasses.
Yes.
And what was the final result on that?
Well, I have to go back and look.
There was probably no consensus. The idea was, do you prefer active, passive, that kind of thing, right?
Well, no, I haven't run that one in a while.
I'm trying to remember what it was. Oh, forget it. Sorry I asked. I'm sorry I asked.
My brain is a FIFO buffer. What can I tell you?
What does that mean, a FIFO buffer?
FIFO buffer, first in, first out.
Oh.
It's a computer term that, basically you have this little bit of memory. Something comes in, it stays there for a while, and then it goes out as something else comes in.
Aha.
And so, that's my brain.
Well, and I'm looking, and the AVS, there's so much content on AVS, it's kind of a FIFO too.
It is. Actually, what I'm working on, what I worked on this week very extensively was the Oscars.
That's right. That's Sunday, isn't it?
Which is tomorrow.
You said you went to that. You were going to that party. Did you go already?
I did. Yes. I actually went backstage at the Dolby Theater, and man, the security there is so tight. The people who have their all access passes, thing wrapped around their neck and the badge, you know, that's on a lanyard, sort of like a trade show. They have to wear it backwards so that no one can take a picture of them.
Oh, wow.
And then create a counterfeit badge.
I would guess getting into
I
would guess getting into the Oscars would be like some people, you know, that would be what I'd like to hack.
Yes. They gave me a wristband for while I was inside, and then as soon as I left, they said, "Okay, we need your wristband back. We need to cut it off." I said, "Really? I can't like keep it for a souvenir?" Nope. Can't do it. Cut it off. Take it away.
So what did you see?
Well, I actually interviewed 4 of the audio guys who are doing the audio for the show, and it's a fascinating technological tour de force, if you will.
I mean, there's a lot of microphones. You got an orchestra. You got a ton of sound. Yeah,
that's right. And all of the nominated songs for Best Song are going to be performed live by the artist who recorded it for the movies.
Wow. Wow.
So that's going to be pretty cool. There's like 80-some inputs from the stage. The orchestra, which is at Capitol Records a few blocks away.
Oh, I remember that. They're going to do that again, huh? The orchestra plays at Capitol, and then they pipe that into the theater.
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
And the technology involved there is quite remarkable. It involves some latency. You know, because you have to convert things from this to that and send it over there, and they get deconverted and reconverted and sent back to the main broadcast.
How do you handle that?
Well, I asked them that, and they said, well, you basically look for the lowest latency equipment you can find.
Yeah.
And so they told me that the total latency, that is the delay from the time the signal leaves the Dolby Theater, goes over to Capitol, and comes back, is 2.7 milliseconds.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
It's not bad at all.
That's completely doable. You know, if you ever watch CNN and they're talking to their correspondent in Ukraine, they'll ask a question, and 3 seconds later the correspondent answers. It would be hard if there were that kind of delay and an orchestra's playing and the singer's singing and they're 3 seconds apart. That wouldn't be good. But 2 milliseconds, you're not going to notice that.
No, you're not. Except in certain cases where you have certain sharp hits, like snare drum hits and stuff like that, that need to be coincident.
Yeah.
Even 2.7 milliseconds apart, you might start to feel a little flanging there or a little something going on. Anyway, so they're doing a remarkable thing at the Oscars, and I'm definitely going to be watching. I love the fact that they're performing live.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And it's just remarkable. I also got to walk around backstage a little bit. We had handlers with us. They wouldn't let us go anywhere without an Oscar person with us.
Wow. Wow.
But I peeked inside the Architectural Digest green room, which they design every year. And I saw a little bit of the backstage where the artists will sort of wait for their chance to get on stage. Got a tour of the broadcast truck. It's a remarkable production.
How fun is that?
Really is.
Well, I'm glad you got to do that. I'm sure when you watch, it'll be very interesting. Now, the Oscars aren't in 3D, are they?
No, they're not.
Why not? Come on. If they really cared about 3D, they'd do them in 3D.
I suppose, yeah. And it's on ABC, which means it's being broadcast in 720p.
Oh, that's terrible.
No, it's not. I don't think so.
Oh.
I mean, if you look at ABC, certain channels have decided on 720p when they went high def.
Right.
There's 2 broadcast.
ESPN, which is also ABC, is 720p. And it just bugs me. I would like.
Fox,
can they not
Fox
do 1080i or 1080p? Can they not? Is that?
They can't do 1080p. You can't broadcast. It's too much bandwidth. You can't broadcast 1080p. So those other stations, CBS, NBC, most of the other stations broadcast in 1080i. And there's a debate about which is better. 1080i, it has more pixels, but it's interlaced, which means only half of each frame arrives at a time. Right. And then the other half arrives, and the TV has to stitch them back together. And that can cause some problems, especially with sports, which is why ESPN went with 720p, because it's a little bit less pixel density, pixel resolution, but the entire frame arrives at the same time. So a football, say, zooming across the screen, if you're shooting in interlaced format, half that football will show up at one time and then half the other, and it'll look more blurry, actually. Right. So 720p is actually not a bad thing.
So the Oscars are 720p?
Yeah, and all of ABC is.
Yeah.
Everything they broadcast is.
And
so
it
the
is
Oscars,
5.1 surround sound, right?
correct. And they don't even broadcast stereo anymore.
What?
They only broadcast 5.1. So if you don't have a 5.1 system at your home,
What are you going to get? Are you going to miss stuff?
you're going to get stereo. No. The TV or the set-top box or something will down mix, what's called down mixing, to stereo or even mono. Which is pretty easy to do.
Right.
You know, it just combines the channels together. So that's the interesting thing. I wrote a piece on AVS Forum about my experience backstage, and one of the graphics in that piece is a world map of who's going to get the Oscars. And virtually the whole world gets it. There are only a few places that don't at all. And it's interesting to look and see which countries are going to get 5.1 and which aren't. The U.S., of course, will get 5.1, and Canada, most of North America. India will get 5.1, which is kind of interesting, and some Southeast Asian countries, but not Australia.
Is it a reflection of the capability of the broadcasters in those regions, or the expectation of the users in those regions?
Well, that's a very good question. I don't think I know the answer. I think it's probably at least partly due to the infrastructure in those countries.
Yeah, I would guess.
You know, the broadcast infrastructure. Yeah. Can it handle 5.1?
Right.
And most of Europe's only going to get stereo. And so is Australia, South America, Russia, Africa. Heather's only going to be, she's going to still be here. I was going to say she could watch the Oscars in
Tanzania,
Africa, but it'd only be in stereo.
Yeah. And of course in France they're going to get the broadcast, but they're still not going to get it. No,
that's right.
I'm joking. Just a joke. Just a joke.
I kid.
I'm excited. I know there are people who really hate the Oscars, but I look forward to it. You know,
1.2 billion people around the world are going to watch that show.
Is that the most watched TV show of all?
Certainly one of them. I don't know for sure that if it is the most watched. Yeah. Certainly among the most watched.
I'm sure this summer the World Cup will break that.
It may very well. Yeah. And that'll be interesting to see if they do in 3D, because they did last year.
Wow.
So we shall see. But
nothing like a corner kick coming straight at you.
That's right.
Wow. That'll be fun.
So, yeah, it's going to be great.
Scott, I look forward to hearing your review of the... Scott doesn't watch for the movie stars. He doesn't watch for the clothes. He doesn't watch for the jewelry or even the statuettes. He's going to review the video and the audio next week.
That's right.
Scott Wilkinson, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I didn't even hear that one.
I didn't hear it at all.
Yeah. Building a strong relationship. Now we hear Leo.
My timer got into the red, but I didn't hear the music, and you were keeping going, so I thought, okay, well, maybe my timer's up.
Yeah, if Leo keeps going, I guess you has to. I will let you have it, sir. Go right to it.
Thank you so much.
All right.
So, hey, chat room, so glad to be with you, as always. So, yeah, Red Penguin got taught something new here today. Looked at the signal from ABC, and ABC and Fox they do broadcast in 720p. And, you know, it looks really clear. It looks really beautiful, I think. Now, on a 1080p set, which most of them are these days, there will be an upscaling from 720 to 1080, but it'll all be in the progressive domain. There won't have to be any de-interlacing going on, which really makes it a whole lot easier. As I said, when you're shooting at 1080i interlaced, and a football or something moves across the screen, it gets kind of blurry because it wasn't shot all at the same time. So that's the reason for that. Web 2514. What can you do? What can one do if they have image retention on their TV? He has a Panasonic ST60 with a logo burned in. Yeah. It's probably not burned in. Burn in really means permanent. Means it can't be released or erased. Image retention means that it can be erased. And the Panasonics have a function in them called, I think it's called Screen Wipe or something like that. I don't remember exactly what the name of it is. But in any event, you go into the menu, you find this function, and it floods the screen with white and I think perhaps a black bar kind of scrolls across the screen and attempts to sort of exercise all the phosphors into a similar state. There are other, you could tune in, you can't really do this anymore. You used to be able to do it in the analog days, tune in between stations and get snow. You know, anybody remember snow? basically just noise on the screen. You used to be able to do, if you could do that, that would nicely exercise all the pixels exactly the same. There are some programs that you can download from the internet. I'll have to go look for and see where I can find them, that also help erase retained images. So that's the best thing you can do there. And Beatmaster says, to be fair, deinterlacers in TVs have come a long way. And you're right, they have. They've come a really long way. Oh, Marsworm, will I try the network streaming? Yeah, the Oscars are going to be streamed as well, and I might want to check that out. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, I'm backing up here a little bit. Yeah, watching TV is so complicated today, Money 2004. You know, certainly there's a lot more to it than there used to be. But just go to AVS Forum and you get plenty of help on any question you have. Not only from me, but from the 1 million+ members that hang out there all the time. So yeah, absolutely. Cheapest method, okay, a monkey stick. Cheapest method for hooking up a device that uses composite out to a modern monitor that only has DVI or HDMI. Ooh, that's a good question. Composite out. Okay, we're not ready to go yet. Is the lowest possible quality of video. And an AV receiver, virtually all AV receivers that if they have composite, we might have to be going here pretty.
Yeah, thanks, Scott.
All right, sure.
I'll keep you around for the top of the hour if you want. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number if you have a question. You want to talk high tech. 888-827-5536. The website is techguylabs.com. Bob is on the line from Hesperia, California. Our next caller. Hi, Bob.
Hey, Leo. Thank you for taking my call, Dr. Leo.
My pleasure.
Say, I'm getting ready to take a walk on the wild side, and I don't want to get hurt. I'm replacing a PC laptop and docking station that's in 2 different locations, 2 different offices, and I want to get a 13-inch MacBook Pro with Retina for portability, so I can put it in my briefcase.
Okay.
And I need docking stations on both ends, and one end needs to be able to hook up to the network with 2 monitors, and the other end needs to be able to hook up to the network. Do you have any suggestions?
So Apple doesn't do docking stations. You know, in the old days, Apple did. In fact, they very famously had the PowerBook Duo docking station, which was crazy. It was like, you know, ejector that would suck it in. Some PCs still do docking stations, but really what happens now with a modern MacBook is you've got this very fast Thunderbolt port on it, and the easiest way to do the dual monitor setup is to have Apple monitors, Thunderbolt monitors, and that's a snap. You just because the Thunderbolt port's fast enough to do both video and USB, so you can have a keyboard and a mouse hooked up to the monitor, and the monitor itself comes with a power cable and a USB cable in some cases, and a Thunderbolt cable in some cases, just the USB, just the Thunderbolt cable, and that means you just sit down, plug it in. You don't even have to open up the MacBook, but that only works with Apple's own branded monitors, and I'm thinking you have monitors already. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. A little more tricky. Apple makes it very easy with their own monitors, but to do it, so what kind of inputs do those monitors want? HDMI?
They have HDMI, DVI, VGA.
So you can get an HDMI adapter for your Thunderbolt port. Thunderbolt outputs mini display port or display port, which can be converted easily to HDMI. So Apple even sells these converters, but you won't get the benefit of having the power cable and all that. You'll have to have a power cable there. You'll have to have a USB cable, and if the power monitors that you're using don't have a USB hub built into them, you'll have to have a powered USB hub. Now the dual monitors, little tricky. Again, with Apple monitors, you can either daisy chain them. That MacBook Pro may in fact have dual Thunderbolt ports. I think it's a new one, right? Does it have dual?
Yes, it does. It does have dual.
So that makes it pretty easy. You'll have 2 adapters, and you'll plug them both in. I mean, it's not easy because you have all these things to plug in. It's a lot easier with the Apple Cinema displays, but it's still, you know, it's doable. dock implies to me there's something you slide the computer into, and all the connectors are there already, and you just boom, boom, boom. But in fact, there is nothing Apple makes, and I don't know of a third-party dock that is like that.
I've seen something called Bookends. Have you seen that?
It's a third party, huh?
Yeah, and there's also one called Hinge or something like that. But
yeah, there's some that are holders. They're just holders. Yeah, in fact, we have one here that holds it sideways, and it has the connectors. And I've used those, and it's not very, you have to kind of jiggle it to get it in right and everything like that. I'm underwhelmed by the ones I've seen.
Okay, so not worth investing in.
Well, yeah, my experience with the ones I've seen are, the way the one we have works, and I can't remember what it was called, is that you have it connected, all the cables connected into this holder, and then you have to kind of jiggle the computer to get it in there. I'm looking at a Belkin. Somebody's given me a link to a Belkin Thunderbolt Express dock. It's $200, which right there is kind of a disadvantage, but it does do kind of what you want. It has a bunch of connectors in the back. All you have to do is connect it to Thunderbolt. This is the advantage of that laptop, is everything comes through the Thunderbolt. Video, data, everything. So they've done a nice job of that. There's so much bandwidth, so much throughput that it's not a complicated thing to do. So
yeah, I'm looking at it on the screen. That looks pretty good.
The Belkin looks like it's going to do what you want. It has Ethernet FireWire, which is something the Apples don't come with. Thunderbolt in and Thunderbolt out. Headphones, mic, USB 3. Yeah, this actually looks like, it is $200, but this will do what you want for both of those solutions. It has dual Thunderbolts, so you could have two monitors connected.
Oh, that looks perfect.
Yeah. That does look like a good choice. So thank you. That was recommended by Web1751 in the chat room.
Can I ask another question on this?
Sure can.
Okay, so since I came from the Windows world, I'm looking at putting like Parallels or some kind of a virtual machine on this.
Right.
And I know there's VMware and VirtualBox, and I've heard people say Parallels can run in coherence mode or modality.
Yeah.
Too much about.
Both of them can essentially do the same thing, which is allow you, it looks like you've got full screen Windows apps running. So you're staying in the Mac OS, but you're able to run Windows apps full screen as if you're in Windows. Those are nice. It's a seesaw battle between Parallels and VMware Fusion. Both came out at the same time. Both are updated pretty regularly. I'm not sure if I have a favorite among those. I guess I use VMware Fusion most of the time, but I hate to give short shrift to Parallels because I think that they come up pretty quick with parity upgrades. So it's really a question of who's ahead right now. Okay, and what's your opinion on the time capsule? I don't use it because I'm not a fan of Apple's Time Machine backup. But for novice, users who don't want to think about it, it's a great solution. I think cheaper to buy an external drive than to have it. The time capsule is a router plus a hard drive in the router, and it backs up over the network to it. It's so much faster to back up directly. And if you're going to do one of these docks, you'll be very quick to back up right next to it. So. I'm not against time capsules. I've never bought one. I just prefer to roll my own solution on that. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, here's another one. This is also from the chat room. This actually looks pretty sweet. It's called the Zen Dock, and it was a Kickstarter project which has been funded. It looks even simpler. It connects directly into the port, and then allows you to connect a bunch of devices to it. Yeah, I saw that on Kickstarter, and I was wondering, is that actually available now? Pre-order. Pre-order. So the ZenDock Retina has a USB and dual Thunderbolt ports connected to it. Plus, here's the nice part of this one is it powers. It's got an adapter that will power the Macintosh. The Pro does even more. This looks like a pretty nice solution, depending on which one you have, which MacBook you have. They also have one for the Air and the Pro, and both have MagSafe adapters, which is nice. This is an interesting solution. I'll have to, I'll have to take a look at that. I'll tell you what, I'll get this one and I'll review it as soon as it comes out. Cool. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's available yet. Not very expensive, I got to say, $159 for the dock, and I'm not sure when they're going to ship. They've got a Christmas logo on the ordering page. That always makes me a little nervous. Here we are in March. Yeah. That makes me a little nervous, but. Maybe they just haven't. They've been so busy building the device, they haven't had time to update their web page. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. Good, some good solutions there. I've avoided it by using Apple's own cinema displays, which kind of are like docks. But these are kind of cool solutions. So I now have to check these out, don't I? And thanks to the chat room for recommending all of those. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls right after this. Yeah, this looks good. It cracks me up when people though say, "Oh, this is definitely a better solution," because it's not shipped, so no one's ever tried it. But this looks pretty cool. They funded, but I don't know where it is. And this is what makes me so nervous about Kickstarter. They funded in May. See, yeah, that makes me a little nervous. Funded in May. Here we are, almost a year later. I tell you. All right, I'm going to let you have Scott, because he is still here.
I am still here. I never go away.
Take over while I go get something to eat.
Thanks, go get something to eat, Leo. Right. Take a break.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Always happy to do this. So, yeah, we've been chatting in the chat room, talking about 1080i and 1080p displays, particularly early plasmas like Hitachi. Also, some Mitsubishi rear projectors. They're called 1080i. They have 1920 by 1080 pixels, but they were called 1080i. And the reason for that isn't because they only displayed 1080i in an interlaced format, that is field 1 followed by field 2 and back and forth and back and forth, but because they could only accept a 1080i signal. They didn't have the bandwidth. Their input hardware wasn't fast enough to accept a 1080p signal. So they got in a 1080i signal and de-interlaced it and displayed it. All digital displays have to display finally a progressive signal, a progressive image. So they de-interlaced it and then displayed it as 1080p, although you wouldn't know that. Now, in the early days back then, they often called these sets 1080p because ultimately they finally, in their internal innards workings, displayed 1080p, but they couldn't accept a 1080p signal. And so a lot of people thought this was, shall we say, misleading. So therein lay a great controversy at the time. It's certainly irrelevant now because all TVs can accept 1080p, no problem. Hardware marches on. Argtar in the chat room, have you ever seen the rainbow effect or phosphor lag on a plasma? I see it all the time on fast-moving images. I haven't. I've never really noticed that particularly. I have heard other people say it, so it's not unheard of. I've never seen a rainbow effect, certainly. You see that on single-chip DLP projectors, either rear projection or front projection, and that's because the color wheel with red, green, and blue pie slices is spinning around and showing the red, green, and blue image on the screen sequentially. And if you have certain kinds of scenes, like bright headlights in a dark night scene or a street light or something like that, and you kind of move your eyes around the screen, you can see these red, green, blue rainbows, which is annoying. Some people are more sensitive to it than others. I'm not particularly sensitive to it, but my friend Tom Norton, who writes for Sound and Vision magazine and the website, is very sensitive to it. So, and some DLPs do better at that than others at keeping that down. But I can imagine phosphor lag on a plasma, but it's really not. Generally speaking, I have not heard it to be nearly the problem that motion blur on LCDs is. So if you see it all the time, Argtar, you're probably extremely sensitive to it, and I'm sorry to hear that. You probably don't want to get a DLP projector either. Of course, these days, DLP projectors are either the super cheapies or the really expensive ones. There isn't anything in the middle. I still haven't quite figured out why that is. I guess it's economy. You know, for some reason, manufacturers can't make money on mid-range DLP projectors. So they either make really super cheap ones or the really expensive ones. Certainly most digital cinema projectors, except Sony, use DLP, and those are really expensive. So anyway, that's the answer there. J-Spin, what do you consider the movie of the year in terms of image and sound quality? You know, I haven't seen all the Oscar nominees by a long shot. I haven't seen most of them. I'm waiting. Some of them are out on Blu-ray. I just haven't had a chance to get around to see them. I probably should have before the show. But in any event, having put that out there, I still think Gravity is an amazing, amazing movie, both visually and for audio. It's up for, I don't know, 10 Academy Awards, including Best Visual Effects, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Sound Editing. And it absolutely is deserving in all those categories. It's phenomenal. Just phenomenal. So that's my pick, but it's not a fully informed pick, so take it with a grain of salt. So Argtar, actually, the reason he swapped back to an LCD. Okay, so yeah, if you're sensitive to phosphor lag in a plasma and so on, then there you go. Grarg was asking me earlier about short throw projectors. And what that means is basically it's a projector that can get very close to the screen and still fill a wide screen. It's a kind of a specialized thing. And I mentioned that LG makes a product called the Laser TV, which is a very short throw projector. Basically, you can put it on a credenza right up against the wall, and the screen is on the wall, and it's like 18 inches away or 12 inches away or something, and it fills a 100-inch screen. But it comes with its own screen. It has to be used with that screen, and it's $9,000. So the question is, any good short throw projector ideas for under $3,000? I'd have to do some research on that. I don't know of any off the top of my head. As I said, that's a specialized thing, a very short throw projector. More often than not, they're used in business applications, you know, in a boardroom or conference room or something like that. So for home theater, I'd have to do some research. I know that Digital Projection showed one, Cedia 2012, and Runco showed one as well, but those are both going to be well over $3,000. So let me see. I'll see if I can learn more about that maybe for next week. Web 9375. What's a good Blu-ray player? Boy, they're all just about the same. I mean, for me, by far the best is the Oppo BDP 103. Phenomenal player. It's $500. If you don't want to spend that kind of money, well, the Sony PS3 and 4 are fabulous Blu-ray players. If you already have one or you're a gamer and you want to get one for gaming, that makes it more cost-effective because it's serving a dual purpose. But it's a great Blu-ray player as well. Otherwise, I would say Blu-ray players, any Blu-ray player from Panasonic, Samsung, those are the two, Sony, those are the three that I would recommend. We have a recommended Blu-ray players, our top pick Blu-ray players on AVS Forum in the buying guides. It's pretty easy to find those. And and that's the answer. Here we go.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks,
Talk
Leo.
to you next week.
Talk to you next week. You bet. Bye-bye.
Found the culprit. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here. The Tech Guy, Hour 2 of the Tech Guy Show, where we talk about computers and the internet and home theater and cell phones and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. If it's got a chip in it, you call me, you ask a question, I'll be glad to help you out. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. You can also use Skype to call us outside those countries. It's free if you use Skype out on a toll-free number. You can also visit our website, techguylabs.com. That'll find you'll find there the phone number, the link to the great chat room. Well, let me see how many people are in there right now. Usually somewhere hovering around 1,000. 869 in there right now. And that's a great place to go to ask questions, to say hi, and to give me solutions. As you heard, we had some great suggestions on our last call from the chat room for docks for Mac laptops, which I hadn't tried. So I'm going to check those out. We talked last week about a major flaw in iOS that allowed a bad guy to get between you and your bank or any secure transaction. Apple patched that flaw with 7.0.6 pretty quickly. It's being called the go-to-fail bug because it is apparently accidentally, although I suppose it could have been intentional, done maliciously, modification to the program that made it basically fail, made it break the authentication for secure connections. It just allowed anything as a secured connection. It didn't check the certificate anymore. And it was done because there was an accidental duplication of one line of the code. The line was go to fail, and just beneath it, it said go to fail again, and that's all it took. Pretty clever little hack if somebody did it on purpose. An easy-to-do typo, too, though, so. Apple had the same problem on OS X, and it did take a little longer, but on Tuesday, OS X was updated as well. So I say this just to remind you, if you're using a Macintosh or an iPhone or an iPad to update, that update is very important before you use online banking or shop on Amazon or somewhere like that. 8888 ask Leo, that's the phone number. As long as I'm slamming Apple, that's not slamming. There are bugs in every operating system. I did buy one of these beautiful new cylindrical Mac Pros. Love these. Unfortunately, it has the kind of computer problem that you really dread as a tech guy. It's called an intermittent problem. You've probably had one from time to time. It doesn't happen every time. It can happen with your car, your refrigerator, or your computer. And if it were, if you could reproduce it, if you could make it happen every time, you just take it to the shop and say, watch, click, 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 there it goes. But unfortunately, it's inconsistent. It happens sometimes it works fine. And, I've been on the phone with Apple, and we've gone through a lot of diagnostic stuff, and I finally just got tired. I should just bring it in and say, you deal with it. But the problem is, of course, when you do that, they go, well, let's plug it in. It works fine. And they go, I see no problem. Thank you for stopping by. Would you like an iPod? And I knew that would happen because it's just, that's how it is with intermittent problems. So I took advantage of our engineering team, and we did a lot of diagnostic checks, and they found a bad memory module. Unfortunately, I'm a little worried because they took it out. And now I know now what I'm going to get. I'm going to go to Apple and say, you see, I found it. It's this one. And they say, oh, you took that out, did you? Yeah. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm so very sorry. And we'll see what happens. I'm hoping that my overzealous tech team, they really wanted to play with this thing. They were so anxious to open it up, to get inside, to look at it. And Apple makes it very easy to do so. I can't really blame them for that. But I'm just thinking $3,000 down the tube is what I'm thinking. That's where I'm going with this, I'm afraid. 88, I'll keep you up to date. 8888 ask Leo. I mentioned that because it happens, just to point out that it happens to all of us. Intermittent problems, they're the worst. They're the worst. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I had it crash 3 times on me. Just go to a black screen and reboot 3 times. That's when I finally said, I think there's something wrong. It's haunted. But it's going to make a lovely doorstop, and that's what I'm happy about. 8888 ask Leo. Back to the phones we go. Conrad in Los Angeles. Thanks for being so patient. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call. Leo, I have a mid-2009 MacBook Pro. My hard drive went bad. I ordered a replacement by Amazon from Seagate. It's a hybrid 1 terabyte drive. Put it in, and it's not letting me format. Every time I do the erase, it comes up with this dialog box that says POSIX error, cannot allocate memory. And you're
using you're using the disk utility that comes with the Macintosh to do this?
Yes.
So you run disk utility, and have you partitioned the drive?
Tried that. Same error.
Same error.
Yeah.
It sounds like it says a memory error. That's interesting.
Yeah. A previous dialog came up that said unable to unmount drive, but the most recent ones just say cannot allocate memory.
Sounds like you got, I mean, all I can think of is you got a bad drive. It is a hybrid drive, which is kind of an odd thing. It has a solid state memory as well as spinning drive in it. But I have not used one of those with a Macintosh before, but I can't imagine that it looks any different.
I mean, it said compatible with both operating.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, the hybridization is handled internally by the drive circuitry, so it will appear as a single drive to the Macintosh. So I can't imagine that that's it. Is it a Seagate Momentus?
You know what? I cannot tell you. I'm actually standing in the aisle at Fry's trying to pick up a new one. Just thought maybe
I'm looking. You know, I'm going to put a link in the show notes, techguylabs.com, and do pick up a new one. But if it happens again, this is an article from purewebmedia.biz talking about this particular drive. Because it said there's some kind of odd things about this drive. Partitioning the drive while it was external and then cloning my current info onto it. Apparently, it's hard to format, but I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I'll put the link in here. You can read it. If it is related to your issue, then you can take a look at it. But my suspicion is it's something wrong with it. It should just work.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
I'll try.
Let me know. Yeah, let me know. And I'll put this in techguylabs.com. It'll be a link to purewebmedia.biz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try that, and I'll probably pick up just a regular drive as well. And
you know, my experience with hybrids are that they don't make much of a difference. The idea is the best of both worlds, the speed of an SSD, but the capacity of a spinning drive. And benchmark tests, not by me, but by Alan Malventano, who's the SSD expert over at PCperspective.com, PCper.com. Yeah. He's been very underwhelmed by the hybrid drives, saying, yeah, either get an SSD or get a spinning drive. You're not going to get, the hybrid drives are more expensive and don't give you much more performance.
Huh.
Okay.
Interesting. Thanks for your time,
My pleasure. Yeah, take care. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, 8888. Ask Leo. Steve's in Little Rock, Arkansas. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Leo. Leo, I'm taking your advice, and I'm going to boot Linux on my old netbook to keep it going after April the 8th.
You have XP on it?
I do. But what I want to do is I want to dual boot so I can keep some of my old XP programs just because I'm comfortable with them. But I want to boot into Linux, of course, when I get on the web. So my question is there any way that Internet Explorer or something on the Windows side will sneak on the web even though I boot up?
No, you're fine.
All right.
That's a good question. The idea being, since XP isn't updated after April 8th, it would be dangerous to go online with it. There could be, and probably will be, what we call exploits, things that attack that operating system because bad guys know Microsoft's not going to fix it anymore.
Sure.
So when you go online, this is smart. When you go online, you use Unix, you use Linux, which is safe. And then if you need XP, you still can boot into it. Yeah, no, there's not going to be any sneaking in. Just don't go online with XP. That's my strong advice. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Yeah, this was such a bad idea. But so I don't know if Burke did you do this or did the Pixel Core guys? I lent it to Alex, right, for benchmarking, and then he said, "Oh, there's something wrong with it." And I guess in their testing they discovered maybe the memory was flaky, but
as far as I know, it was all Pixel Core.
Burke didn't remove that.
I don't think so.
That's such a bad idea because now they say note scratch on back of RAM looks like 2 traces damaged, but unfortunately,
but it's a pro computer. How can you not be able to remove the RAM?
I'm sure you can remove the RAM, but I don't think I'm going to have a good argument that the RAM is damaged if we've removed it. Right? Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to put it back in and hope they don't notice.
It's not like an iMac. You're not like...
It's easy to remove. I don't know. I'll just put it back in. I think they'll know, right? But you're right. It's a Pro. I mean, I don't know. No, I know opening the case doesn't, but and probably in all likelihood removing the RAM doesn't. But on the other hand, if the RAM is physically damaged and we've removed it, then I think that Apple's not going to give me a hard time, right? Just put it back in and don't tell them. Well, it's been very hard because it's intermittent. It's been hard to get any, Apple's been great on the phone, and Corey, the guy who's, been helping me. Yeah, I'll just put it back in and hope that they don't. I find lying to Apple is always a mistake because they have all these sensors on here. When I got the iPhone wet, I was fortunately I'm an honest fellow, so I wasn't tempted to go in there and say, "Hey, I don't know what happened," but I said, "Yeah, I got it. I dunked it in a glass of water," and the guy, actually, before I even said anything, the guy looks in there and says, "You dunked it in a glass of water, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah," or something like that. And anyway, it would have been a mistake to lie because they know immediately, and I don't know what they know here. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, couldn't stop it, so I let it be. 8888. Ask Leo. Roland is on the line from Burbank, California. Beautiful downtown Burbank. Hi, Roland.
Hey, good morning, Leo.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well.
All right. I've got a question, of course. Live in Burbank. I'm going to go to Denver, Colorado. I've got a couple of flat-screen televisions. Now, somewhere along the line here, I've heard that...
oh, altitude.
Pardon?
Altitude.
Yes, altitude.
Are they plasmas?
Plasmas?
Yeah, plasmas are... because there's gas. The way a plasma works is it's little cells of gas that get excited. The gas emits light. And, of course, where there's gas, if the air pressure goes down, the gas pressurized at a certain normal sea level pressure could start to outgas. And, of course, then your screen will get dimmer and eventually fail.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, Denver's the mile-high city. I don't know.
Well, that's not the problem. The problem is I got to go over the Rockies. Okay, now it's a little higher than Denver. Now, you're
not going to be there long enough to worry about the Rockies.
Okay.
I think this is a process that happens over a longer period of time than a few hours.
That's definitely good to hear.
Yeah, but I am not an expert on this, and I know that they do sell plasma TVs for use at altitude. Okay. And I'm not sure and I'm sure there's people listening in Denver who can call in or visit the chat room and let us know. I'm not sure if Denver's high enough to have that be of concern. Think about this. Those TVs, how do you think they got to you?
Well,
they got to you.
They might have been on
in an airplane where the cabin pressure is somewhat less than sea level.
Okay.
So I have a feeling that's not an issue. I would be more concerned about how the TV will operate in Denver over a period of time.
Okay. In what way?
Well, because of altitude, plasma and altitude. That whole issue of the air pressure's lower, the gas could outgas.
What I've kind of heard is, well, Denver's about 5,200 feet plus.
Yeah. How old is the TV?
I've been pardon?
How old is the TV?
I got one that's about 4 years old and one that's a little less than 2.
Yeah. So, chat room again to the rescue. Thank you, Captain Melchior. He's given me a link to a CNET article. Plasma TV altitude. How high can they go? How high is too high? And video files living in places like Denver are concerned plasmas won't work for them. Turns out they're sort of right. Now, LG says 9,500 feet. Samsung says 6,900 feet. Panasonic says 7,200 feet. So Denver is fine.
Right in there, right at the bottom.
It's at the you're at a 5,200 feet. I think you're okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Leo.
All right. And if anybody has any conflicting data, send it along. But this article from CNET by Jeffrey Morrison, it was last year, February of last year. He's quoting the specs that the manufacturers themselves tell us. It may be different for older TVs. So if you really wanted to be careful, check with the manufacturer and see. And I know some companies do, in fact, sell plasmas for use at altitude. I do know that. LCD doesn't have that problem. OLED doesn't have that problem. It's a plasma problem specifically. Jerry, Fort Myers, Florida. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Jerry's at sea level, I think.
Yes, I am. Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling. What can I do for you?
Well, I'm at a buddy's house right now. I'm trying to help him upgrade his Mac OS from Tiger to Snow Leopard.
Okay, that's a good upgrade. Tiger's pretty old.
Yeah, and the error that we got is Mac OS can't be installed on this computer.
Oh, yeah. See, so this is the issue. It's the hardware itself. There are certain upgrades, there are certain levels of OS X beyond which you cannot go. And I'm guessing what that computer is saying is I can't go to Snow Leopard. You might try an earlier version. What computer is it?
It's a Mac Pro.
20, but what year?
2007.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow, yeah. So 2007 Mac Pro, it's a metal tower?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So it is, at least it's Intel. That's the good news. I'm looking at, this is the original quad-core Mac Pro from 2007, I'm guessing. And I've gone to everymac.com. This is a great website for you to know about, everymac.com, because they'll tell you, among other things, and you want to check for your specific Mac, but they'll tell you, among other things, what the highest level operating system it can use is. And it is not unusual for Macs to say, I can't go beyond. I'm seeing if I can find it. Pre-installed Mac OS. The maximum it can go to is 10.7.5.
Okay.
It came with 10.4.7, but it can't go past 10.7.5, and I'm guessing that's past what you're trying to install. Let me just see what OS 10 10.7.5 is. I wish they'd give the names. That's Lion. So get a copy of Lion. That's the most recent he could put on there. Snow Leopard, does Snow Leopard predate Lion? I can't remember.
Yeah, because what we also try to do is he had another hard drive, a terabyte drive.
Lion is after Snow Leopard. It should be able to install Snow Leopard. So I'm puzzled. I would see if you can go to Lion. Lion's $25, $30. It's not expensive.
Okay.
Maybe you can jump right to Lion. Maybe that would work better. Snow Leopard's right before Lion. That's what puzzles me. If it should be able to install Snow Leopard, it may be rejecting it because Apple is no longer supporting Snow Leopard. Maybe it's saying, well, we don't want you to put 10.6 on there. Because it's old. We'd like you to get to Lion. But Lion's the most recent you could put on there. So I'd try Lion. Now, one of the issues is Lion, you had to install it from the Mac apps, the Mac store. And so there must be, I would expect that they would offer you another way to download it. You might check on the Apple website, see if you can get a copy of Lion. I think it's the security. I'm thinking it's a security issue. That hardware can support Snow Leopard. But Tommy T in the chat room saying, this sounds as complicated as Android. Do you have Jelly Bean? Do you have Kit Kat? What do you have? It seems like you have to put Snow Leopard on before you can put on Lion because Lion is installed from the Mac App Store. And I'm wondering, because that was a requirement, if they make a version of Lion available. You know what you could do? You obviously have a Mac. You know what about Macs. Download a copy of Lion on your Mac. And then you'll get when you do that, you'll get a file, install Lion file. Don't run it on your Mac. Just get the install Lion file, put it on a USB key, bring it over to his and see if that'll install. Distorted Loop says, I'm running Lion on that same machine, and Snow Leopard was no issue either, so I'm not sure. The only reason I could think that maybe they don't want you to run Snow Leopard is because it's out of support. 8888 Ask Leo. We'll keep looking. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. $20 for Lion. Ah, good. They do sell it standalone. They do sell it standalone. Oh, no, they do not. This gives you an email with a code for the Mac App Store, so that's not going to solve your problem. Johnny Jet's been flying that big old jet airliner all over the world. He's our travel guru. Joins us each and every week to talk about getting the most out of travel using the web and technology, apps, and so forth. Hi, Johnny.
How you doing?
Back from Hawaii, huh?
Yes, I'm very lucky, man. I was over there with Hawaiian Airlines, checking out their new credit card, which is going to be awesome. I'll talk about it another time, but
that's awesome.
I have a good app for you, and I also have. I thought you might want to talk about what's the biggest news that came out this week in the travel industry. I don't know if you heard about it.
What? I didn't.
But Delta has just rewritten the frequent flyer rules. So
let me guess, to make them less advantageous.
Well, for most people, some people are going to like it, but the majority are not. So they're actually kind of following JetBlue, Southwest, and Virgin America's lead, which is now it's going to be based on ticket price instead of miles flown.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if you fly short haul, like if you do, LAX, San Francisco all the time, and you're a business traveler, and you're paying top dollar, you're going to love it. I just tweeted you a mileage calculator from their site.
Ah, cool.
So we can test it out, and you can see who's going to benefit and who's not. And I actually wrote a post on it. And I used to do LA. I still do LA, New York a lot. Yeah. And you can see the differences in status. So the way it's going to work is if everyone's going to get 5 miles per dollar or per dollar spent. 5
miles per dollar
spent.
Okay. You used to get 1 mile per 1 mile.
Right.
Right.
But they're changing it all.
Okay.
So it gets a little confusing.
Okay.
And then, but if you're a silver medallion member, which is 25,000 miles or more, you fly at least, you get 7 miles. And then gold members get 8 miles. Platinum gets 9. The highest is diamond platinum, which is 11 miles, and you have to fly at least 125,000 miles a year. But Delta's trying to they're really catering to their the big customers.
So the more you fly, the more your dollars are worth. That's always been the case, right? You kind of get double miles.
That really hasn't changed much. Yeah. But the thing, it's really about how much you spend. So, and also if you get their credit card, which they're trying to get people to do their credit card, everyone will get 2 extra miles per dollar. Per dollar spent. So I put in LAX JFK, and $350 I put in as a price, because that's normally what I would pay when I would fly back and forth. Yeah. And it's the current program, you would get 4,950 miles. But starting next year, January 1st, that would only get you 1,700.
Oh, wow. So this is generous of them to show you how much they really are hurting you.
I mean, big time. But the worst part is they haven't announced. They're going to announce in the fall what their new awards are going to be, how much you're going to have to spend to get these awards. So people have no idea, which is the toughest part. But if you do that flight, let's say you're a business traveler, you buy a first-class ticket, LAX, JFK, or San Francisco, and spend $2,800, which is a going rate for a round-trip ticket. Instead of getting 4,950 miles, you'd be getting 14,000 miles.
Yeah, but you're spending $3,000
I know, but these guys who have big budgets.
It makes sense for them, though. It makes sense for Delta, because they're making money off you, so they reward you.
Well, they say 20% of all airline passengers, especially the premium, bring in 80% of their revenue.
Wow. You know what this is a response to is how savvy we've become to their complex pricing structure. They people are very good at finding real deals. This is what you do. And thanks to the internet and Twitter and all of this, you can do that. But they really want to reward you for spending money, not for saving money.
And I can understand it from a business perspective.
You bet.
But I hope most consumers will now jump ship and either go to United or American, and so they'll say, "Oh my God, look at all these new customers we have," and we're not going to follow Delta's lead. But unfortunately, I think they're going to follow Delta's lead.
You know they will.
And then we're all screwed.
The sad thing is that it's just because of the price of gas going up and and because people have gotten savvy about shopping for tickets, the airline industry is a very low margin industry at this point, and they have to cut corners where they can, and I understand that.
For sure. And also the other big news this week is that American announced they're dropping bereavement fares.
Oh, that's terrible.
But
those were the last minute fares. If a family member passes away and you want to get to a funeral, normally last minute fares are extra expensive. They were offering special fares for bereavement, but that's too bad that they're getting rid of those.
But United still has theirs and Delta still has theirs. But my big point, I was actually quoted in CNN and a few other articles, that you get a better deal not going the bereavement fare route.
Oh.
So just shopping online and getting discounts, you can usually find a much better deal because a lot of times bereavement deals were from full fare. So you don't want to go that route. And JetBlue and Southwest never even had a bereavement fare
because they were a low price airline.
And that's the new model, but you don't want to do that. Okay, so my app for the week.
Yes,
I have an app and a website for the week, and it's called dogvacay.com. I just tweeted it, so you should have it. Dogvacay.com.
I love the idea. What is this for? What, a vacation for your dog or vacation for you?
Well, let's say you're going to Hawaii and you have a dog. Instead of bringing it to the kennel and paying twice the price, this is all peer-to-peer.
Oh, that's nice. It's Airbnb for dogs.
Exactly. So you can find out. You can find out in your neighborhood, who's going to be the best pet sitter. You can see their house. The dog's going to be with other dogs probably. They're going to be in a house. People can earn extra money who want to sit for other dogs who are dog lovers.
This is great.
I do love it, and also it's all insured. Let me see. It costs $25 a night.
Oh, that's much better than customers. And the kennel, they get kennel cough. You just feel like you're putting him in a prison for a week.
And that's the problem because you go on these vacations and you're always worried about your dog.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh my God, my dog's in a kennel right now. But now you know that your dog's actually having their own little vacay, which is where the name came from.
DOGVACAY.com. And now give us your app before we run out of time. I mean,
this is the app. So Dog Vacay is the app.
It's an app and a website.
It's both.
Got it.
And then it comes with free insurance too, which is
they have 11,000 dog sitters around the country. This is neat. I have to see if I can find one near me.
Do you have a dog?
Yeah, a little dog.
Oh,
and when we go away, it's challenging. So
that's why I don't have a dog because I travel so much.
Yeah, it wouldn't be kind to the dog. Yeah.
Now with a site like this, it would actually make me think about getting one.
Really? Just because of this, huh? Wow.
Hey, if it's half the price, and the dog's going to be somewhere in like a loving home, you can interview the people.
Wow, I'm in the right neighborhood. There's bunches all around me.
Oh, good. Well, test it out. Let me know how it goes.
I will. And they set their own prices. Some of them are more expensive, and some
it
of them are less
starts usually
$25. Yeah. Really
nice.
But
it's still half the price of kennels.
Yeah. Here's a woman who specializes in pet portraiture. So you can leave your pet and you'll come, and when you get back, there'll be a painting.
Actually, my sister does this. My sister does. She specializes in that. She's a painter.
Is your sister Patty's Pet Services?
No, my sister's in.
Your sister specializes in pet portraiture?
Yes, Georgie Jet.
That's bizarre and interesting at the same time. Johnny Jet specializes in saving us money using the internet and apps. And nowadays, if you are a traveler, a frequent flyer, if you don't use these services, you're really missing out. By the way, thanks for the tip on the flyertalk.com and the WhatsApp thing. I was able to, thanks to Johnny, find the very first post in 2009 of WhatsApp. The guy saying, hey, you guys on Flyer Talk, you should help me out. That's something to see. And now the guy is worth $6 billion.
No, man. I wish I saw that post right away.
I know. Jumped right on that. Hey, you need anybody to help you out there? That's a problem. You never know. Thank you, Johnny. JohnnyJet.com is his website. His Twitter handle is @JohnnyJet. And as you can tell, he likes the Twitter. He likes to use the Twitter. You can also see his images on Instagram @JohnnyJet. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Safe travels. Are you going to be somewhere next week, or are you going to be home?
I'm going to be in LA most of the week.
Okay, good. Stay home,
so
relax.
Then I'll be somewhere else next week.
Get yourself a dog. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. That's really great. This is not the only one, apparently. There's other companies that do this. Alltails.com. Wow, this is really neat. Really neat.
Good. I'm actually going to be on a plane next Saturday, so maybe I can either call on Sunday or.
That's fine. We'll just work it out. Yeah, either way.
And the following Saturday, I believe I'm on another plane.
Well, Sunday's always good, but you can also take a week off. It's fine. Your choice.
Right, it's up to you.
Up to me. Then I want you on Sunday.
I'll be in good places.
Good. Then let's plan it on Sunday. Sunday we have Chris Marquardt at 12:30, but 11:30 and 1:30 are open. No, 1:30 is not. 11:30 is the best if you can on Sunday.
Okay, 1:30.
11:30.
11:30
Pacific. Sunday morning is always the best. We'll plan on that. and just send us an email or use the Twitter. I'm following you. You know, you can always DM me.
All right, I didn't think you checked Twitter too much.
Well, the DMs bring my phone and bring my chimes.
Okay. So. Actually, that was one of my tips this week in my daily tip newsletter, is that turn your phone off when you travel at night so you can get a good night's sleep, and give the phone number to your loved ones or colleagues of your hotel.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That way you don't get disturbed in the middle of the night by DMs or sales calls or someone just, you know, random friend saying, "Hey, how you been? I haven't heard from you." You're like, "I'm in Australia right now. It's 2 o'clock in the morning." So that's my
brilliant. Brilliant.
All right.
All right.
I got to go pick Natalie up at the Apple store.
Have fun.
I can see her texting me.
I'll be there soon too.
All right. Take care.
8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Going back to the phones here. Oh, you know, the chat room reminds me, and this is actually a good tip for our caller earlier who was having trouble installing an upgrade to OS 10 on his friend's 2007 Mac Pro. They remind me, and this is absolutely true, and a great service, that you can just make an appointment with the genius at the Apple store, and he'll do it for you. And if you can get to an Apple store, that's a really great way to go. They'll charge you for Lion, which is $30, but they'll do the full upgrade for you. Or if you want to go to Snow Leopard, they'll do that too. The geniuses are so named because they're so smart. And this is a smart move on Apple's part. They're kind of the last man standing in good service for personal computers. Lou in San Diego's next. Hi, Lou. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yes. Hi, Leo.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Now that I was just listening to you, I found out I think I have to upgrade my iPhone to the new, I think it's 7.
706. 706. Well, but are you on 6 or an older version?
Well, I'm on whatever came with my iPhone 5.
Yeah, so you are on iOS 6. The iOS 7 upgrade is a big deal.
Well, there were a lot of problems, I guess, and I haven't done it yet, but now I think I better.
Yeah, I don't, Yeah, you are affected I believe, by this massive security flaw. And I'm not sure if that's the only path. I don't know. Have you been offered an update besides iOS 7? I know they're offering you iOS 7 again and again and again.
Yes, continually. But no, that's the only one I've been offered.
Yeah, so I guess you have to go to iOS 7. If you can wait, sometime, I believe in the next week or two, Apple's going to go to 7.1, which, it's ironic. They had to push out this 706 update. Because 7.1 is going to fix, by all accounts, a multitude of problems.
Well, this is my first Apple product. I just decided to drink the Kool-Aid. This wasn't actually my question. My question was, why do these Apple-approved adapters that I have for charging simply not work all the time?
Oh, they should. You have a Lightning connector?
Yes, I do.
But you're not buying it from Apple. You're buying it from a third party?
Well, Monoprice.
Okay, I'll explain this. Yeah. So, Apple, in their infinite wisdom, makes non-standard adapters, as you probably noticed. And they say we have to because it's technically superior to USB, blah, blah, blah. But one of the upshots of that, of course, is that you can't make a duplicate one without licensing it from Apple, which is costly. One of the reasons that Apple genuine adapters are so expensive. Now, Monoprice and others make 2 different kinds of Lightning connectors. The fully Apple-approved ones are going to be more expensive, and they will do syncing. They will do all the data. They'll do all the audio, all the other stuff. The non-Apple-approved ones merely will charge. So
okay. I haven't tried to use it for data, just for charging.
And if they don't work for charging, then they're bad cables. Or you're not connecting it to something with appropriate juice.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I've been able to use my old Android charging plug-in.
Okay, so let me explain that.
Yeah. That works sometimes.
Right. So sometimes is the operating thing. So USB adapters are not made alike. They have different wattages. So you can look, and it'll be on the fine print. You might have to use a magnifying glass to see it, but all adapters will talk about 2 factors, voltage an amperage. Almost all of them are 5 volts. That's kind of the USB standard. So what varies is amperage. And you have to have enough amperage to charge an iPhone. That's why it's recommended you use the charger that came with the iPhone. You can use it with any cable. It's not the cable, it's the charger itself, right? So iPads, for instance, need 10 watts, so they need 2 amp chargers. I'm not sure what the iPhone 5 needs, but I would guess if you plug it into something and it's not charging, then it's just not getting the wattage it needs from the charger you're using. So I'll do some.
I've used different combinations using the original Apple cable with another plug-in the wall charger.
So the iPhone charger is 5 by 1, 5 volts by 1 watt. You can get, and a lot of times Android chargers are lower than 1 amp. So you want to make sure that you have a 1 amp charger.
Okay.
If you get anything less than an amp, it won't charge the iPhone, or it'll charge it. Sometimes it trickle charges it very slowly. But you need
that little lightning bolt
won't come on. That's right. Sometimes it says I'm not charging, and it is in fact trickle charging. But if you want to have a charger that is the equivalent of the iPhone charger, it can be more, by the way, because it will reject extra wattage. But it needs to be 5 volts by 1 amp.
And many times the
Android's not.
No, but many times it will come on the screen. The accessory is not.
That's why.
Yeah, I see.
That's why.
One other question?
Yeah.
Should I update my Windows 8 to 8.1?
Yes.
8 is driving me crazy.
Do it pronto.
Yes, and I will.
It does make a big difference. And then there's going to be an update to that probably in June or July. But definitely 8.1 is a much improved.
Well, what I was reading on CNET was it puts some things on that you can't get off.
Well, yeah, but most of the time that's stuff you want. You know what? Microsoft acknowledged, I think, with 8.1 that they did some things that just didn't work for users in version 8. And I would make the update. You almost always want to do the updates.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. So a typical USB charger for Android might be as low as 0.5 amps. That just won't give you enough wattage. You want 5 volts by 1 amp for an iPhone, 5.1 volts by 2.1 amps for the late model iPads. They now need 12 watts. They used to need 10. So this is something, they all look the same. They all have a USB cable. They all, but if you read the fine print, look at the number of amps, and that will tell you if it's got enough juice. You need 1 amp for an iPhone, 2.1 amps for an iPad. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. One more hour to come on the Tech Guy Show. A reminder, if you hear me talk about something, the links are all up on the website almost immediately. James DeRuvo, tip of the hat to you, sir. He's writing it all down. Scribble, scribble, scribble. And then later, Josh Windish comes and he adds, enhances, puts audio and video from each show on there. The site has audio and video from all of our shows, all of our recent shows anyway, last couple of years. 1,061 shows total. TechGuyLabs.com. That's the site. You'll also find a link there to the chat room, our phone number, and more. TechGuyLabs.com. And I have to say, this is free, and it's going to stay free. It's just as we use it and people add their comments, and it just becomes more and more useful. I'm really thrilled. It's a resource. And it's not just me, it's you. All of you helping out. TechGuyLabs.com. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Just looking, I'm syncing my ShareFile. Do you use ShareFile?
If you're running a small business,
you ought to use ShareFile. If you're not using ShareFile, you're probably not sending files the right way in your business. Pretty much every business email these days has an attachment, whether it's a contract, a spreadsheet, a PowerPoint, pictures of the kids, whatever it is. And you've heard me say again and again, don't send attachments. ShareFile is a better way to share those files. It's secure. Email is not. You attach a contract via email. I don't care how many disclaimers you write. This is not for you. Don't, if you got this in accident, delete it. I see that in lawyers' emails all the time. It's like, dude, you ought to know better. That has no force of law. Email is inherently insecure. Do not send attached files via email. It also, with bounce backs, you never know if that message is going to get through. If you've got a large PowerPoint presentation, it's 100 megabytes or 200 megabytes, it could easily be bounced back by the email servers. There's still email servers that will not accept attachments larger than 10 megabytes. There's still email servers where the entire inbox is 10 megabytes. ShareFile solves all this. If you're using Outlook, it looks just like an attachment. It's not. What it is a secure link. It has some other great advantages. You could pick your industry, and they'll customize it for every industry, including medicine, where, HIPAA compliance and so forth. If you're a healthcare provider, this is fully HIPAA compliant. You don't have to, the person who's getting the message does not have to sign up for an account. I hate that. Most of these other places, they have to have an account, not ShareFile. In fact, let me show you my ShareFile. I use it all the time to send audio to radio stations. Hi, this is Leo Laporte. Whenever I'm in Roanoke, West Virginia, I'm listening to WFIR, that kind of thing. You see, I have ShareFile folders. Those are automatically synchronized from the folders on my desktop. So I just save the files to my desktop, and they automatically end up on ShareFile. You see, I also have a list of ShareFile users with permissions. Download alerts, upload alerts, delete, admin. So that makes it very easy for me to share files with particular people. But let's say I can share a folder by checking the folder box, or I can go into a folder. Say I want to send this. I click the send button. That's why the Outlook plugin is probably the easiest way to do it. Click the send button, and then what it's going to do, let me zoom in on this, is I can either send an email using the form, or I always do this. Give me a link. That link has controls built into it. I could say, email me when the item has been downloaded. Require recipients to enter name and email before downloading. Download access expires never, a day, a year, 6 months. How many downloads per user? Click send file. Now what it's going to do is generate a secure link. I'll show you what happens. When they get this link in the email, they click it. And then you see it's branded with my logo. Your company logo's there. It's very straightforward. They get a download link. They don't have to figure anything out. They see what they're going to download. They even see a thumbnail, which is awesome. You could view it right here without having to, this is actually pretty awesome. Without having to download it, they can get a direct view of it, right? This is a commercial I had to record for KFI. Then if they decide they want to download it, they can see, this is really awesome. Oh, this is in the Microsoft Word app. That's hysterical. I want you to try it today. Here's the deal. Go to sharefile.com. Now, I got to warn you, it's a little hard to figure out what to click because they have 3 different places where you can get a free trial. I'd invite you to use ours. So go to sharefile.com, and you'll see the big green button. Don't click that. You'll see the menu item. Don't click that. Go up at the top, the little one here. It's like they're hiding it. Podcast listeners, click here. Click that one, would you? And then use our offer code TechGuy. Let them know you heard it on the Tech Guy Show. You'll get a free 30-day trial that is truly awesome. But make sure you tell them Tech Guy sent you, okay? Sharefile.com. And if you're not the person who decides this in your business, tell that person, the CIO or the IT guy, because it is really the right way to send files in business. It has saved us so much trouble and time. Sharefile.com. From Citrix. Did I mention that? From Citrix. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Time to talk about tech, computers, the internet, cell phones, home theater. 8888 Ask Leo. That is the number. 888-827-5536. You'll say hello to Heather Hammond, the phone ranger. She will groom you for the airwaves, get those little cowlicks in place. Sometimes, do you ever lick your fingers and flatten the eyebrows sometimes, Heather, just to make sure that we don't want any bushy eyebrows on the end.
Yeah, one caller's eyebrows were a little out of control, and I could not find my trimmer.
All the grooming is psychological. Now, when Leo talks to you, do not be afraid that he's such a big man. He will not sit on you. It's okay.
He's a huge star, but don't get all freaked out.
Huge in many ways. Heather, I see so many lovely, talented, groomed people on the board here. Who should I speak with?
Clearly, Sam in Costa Mesa is looking the best.
Ooh, good looking. Hi, Sam. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Good afternoon, Leo. It's so funny hearing these comments off air.
We're kind of silly, aren't we? Yeah, I apologize.
No, it's entertaining. Here's my question. Actually, you answered part of it on your last ad. You were speaking about Squarespace.com. What I have is basically two websites, which to me is a www. I think you call them HTMLs or something like that.
Yeah.
And they have to do with my business. Unfortunately, they were both, quote, designed or built by, the friend of my cousin of my brother.
Right.
Now, I happened to yesterday discover Doodah because I wanted to try and get one so you can actually read it on a cell phone and da-da-da. Now that I've heard of Squarespace, I can go to them and do that. But what I liked about something like Doodah, and I'm sure Squarespace is the same thing, is that just basically I can import the stuff and they set it up and da-da-da. My question is this. Because one of these websites in particular has been up on the net for a long time, I'm quite high in the ranking. In other words, if I do a Google search or a Bing search for my particular field in Costa Mesa, let's say, I come up second or whatever. I don't want to lose that ranking.
Right.
So,
you're not going to change the URL, right? You're going to still be, doodah.com or whatever it is.
Well, what I want to do is get these under my control. In other words...
Yeah, but that won't... That's fine. The web ranking is tied to the domain name. So you can host that domain anywhere you want. It will not affect in any way your Google search results.
Okay, so I need to go into Squarespace and see where they've got the thing of this is how you become a hoster of a website.
Yeah.
And I can transfer the information from...
Yeah, Squarespace or anybody else. I'll be agnostic, platform agnostic here. The key is you, like most people, don't want to become a web guru, an expert at this. You want them to do that. You have a business, and nowadays, if you have a business and you're not online, you almost don't exist. It's like not being in the phone book.
Exactly.
And I don't care what your business is. So you got to have a website. And Squarespace is great for people who are in that boat where they want a good-looking website, but they don't want to be become a web guru.
I have, like I say, I mean, I could care less at what an HTML is or what a browser is.
Right.
To me, I've got an address that I type in, and the information or files come, I guess they sit on a, quote, browser.
Right. But, it doesn't even matter because the key thing there is the address that you type in. That isn't changing, and that means that Google is still going to send people to that same exact place. In fact, a good web host, and Squarespace is among them, will have tools that will make you do better on Google. They'll have, for instance, Google wants you to have a sitemap. That is, it's written in a special format that the Google crawlers understand that tells it what your site, the map of your site, the geography of your site. And having that helps you a lot with Google. Squarespace does that automatically. Any good host will do that automatically. The problem is there are a lot of bad hosts. The other thing is you want a host that's up to date. So you want your web design to use the latest, I'm going to say the H word, HTML and all of that. You don't want to need to know it, but you want to be with a hosting company that is up to date. And having experience with Squarespace, I can tell you they are, but there are others as well. They're not the only ones for sure.
Now, how do I get the www? Let's say they went to GoDaddy and got the names for me.
They won't. You will continue. You've already got it registered with GoDaddy, so all you will do is Squarespace will flip some switches in their server, and it's in the GoDaddy server, and it'll point to a new place. So what happens is when somebody enters in your domain name, there are phone books. There are 13 big ones, the master domain servers all over the world, and then they feed lots of little ones going all the way down to an ISP. What'll happen is GoDaddy will make a change in its record for you that says when you come to this web address, go to this server. In this case, the server is somewhere. Is it GoDaddy? Doesn't matter. But GoDaddy remains the registrar. But then you will send it to GoDaddy will send it to Squarespace, and that's how the system works. That's all part of the plan. GoDaddy muddies the waters a little bit by being both a registrar and a hosting company. That's not always the case, but they're required by their charter as a hosting company as a registrar to automatically have that domain routing set up so that it will send it to the proper spot.
And how do I get it so that I am the one that's paying the bill monthly for?
Oh, you're not paying the bill. Oh, well, now you have to.
I pay them.
Yeah. You want to own it.
Control all this.
Very important to own it. So who do you pay? Some hosting, some web company?
Well, I pay the two guys that I know that need these things.
So they need to transfer it to you.
Oh, okay.
And anybody, by the way, this is really important because it happens that, I got the friend of a friend to do it and then he disappears. He owns it, not you. You do not own it. There is a process to reclaim it, but it's complicated, long, and not guaranteed. So while you are in touch with the people who own it,
I can grab them.
Go get them by the scruff of the neck and say, hey, sit down at the computer here. Will you transfer this to me? You need to. It's a very easy, free process.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, that's not a problem, but I do want to do that before.
You want to do it now. I like stat, like before Monday, because every minute that you let somebody else own your domain name, you're letting critical component now to your business out of your control.
Right.
You don't need to do the hosting. You can't do the domain name stuff. None of that stuff. But you should own the name. The name should be in your name. You should write the checks.
Okay, now do I go to GoDaddy, and is that...
You will both go to GoDaddy. They will go, and they will log on to their GoDaddy account and say, transfer this domain name to you. You will then log into GoDaddy. If you don't have an account, you will create one, and you will get it. This is an opportunity, by the way, if you want to use a different registrar, you don't have to use GoDaddy.
No, I don't care.
There are a lot of different ones. GoDaddy's fine. They're never been my favorite, mostly because they just are selling so many other services. But GoDaddy's fine. If you're there and you're happy. If you have an account, you have to create an account there. Then they can easily transfer it to your account.
Okay. Well, real quick, last question. The Pebble watch. I ride motorcycles. I'm in construction, so picking my phone out of my holster to see the spam phone call number or whatever isn't working for me. I like the fact that a watch will now identify the number, and I can just look at it.
Yeah.
Is Pebble a good watch?
Pebble's the one I recommend. Okay. If you're using a Samsung phone, you might look at Samsung's gear.
No, I got a Moto X.
Yeah. You have to use a Pebble because the Samsung stuff only works with Samsung. Pebble works with Android and iPhone. It works pretty much with anything. That's the advantage of Pebble. It has the best battery life. Quickly, its functionality, I believe, will be quickly superseded by newer stuff, but nobody yet has improved on the Pebble. Take a look at the Pebble Steel. It's good looking. It looks like a watch instead of something a geek might wear on his wrist. These look like geek slave bracelets. Let's face it.
Yeah. We won't go down to geek.
Yeah. But I mean, it is a little geeky. But I got to tell you, I told this story before. I was visiting a friend. His kid looked at his watch and then took his phone out of his pocket. And I said, "You got a Pebble, don't you?" He said, "Yeah," because he knew the phone was ringing because his Pebble let him know. And
for me, it's just I get so many spam phone calls because I'm a business.
Yeah, and you're on a bike. You don't want to have to take the phone out. Yeah. Now, I got to, this, but just to remind you, you cannot answer the phone on the watch. You cannot talk on the watch. It's just a notification device. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I have a Bluetooth for that. It's taking this thing out of my holster every time.
That's what the Pebble does for you. It's exactly what the Pebble does for you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Still a little geeky. I got to find mine. I was going to give it to Chad. I got to find it. Where is my Pebble? Where is Leo's Pebble? I think it must be at home. I thought it was here, but I don't. And then I have to, there's a proprietary charger, so I have to find that too. Yeah, I got lots of stuff in here. All sorts of things in here. There's my teeth. I put my teeth in there. That's good. Yeah. And then here's my eyeglasses. This is all in one drawer. There's my eyeglasses. If I put these on, you can see me better. Just put the teeth in too. Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Oh my God.
You never know when you'll need this.
I think you're ready to belt out an Elton John song.
Betty and the Jets. You know.
Rocket Man.
Rocket Man. Early in the morning. And I think it's gonna be a long time. What are you? Don't mock me.
Elton John meets. Wait. That's a funny shot. What are you looking at?
What are you looking at? Oh, quick. The radio audience is about to return.
Hi, how are you? Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. That is the number to call. Moving on to Tom in Brea. No, I'm sorry. Tom, you're next. It's Grant in Los Angeles. Hi, Grant.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Is this Cary Grant?
No. Not quite.
Not quite. Okay.
Not quite.
What can I do for you, Grant?
Well, on my phone, I've rooted it and everything, but there's a problem that I've had. It's where it's impossible to install a custom recovery.
Oh, I hate it when that happens. So it's obviously an Android phone, right?
Yeah.
And what model is it?
The Samsung Galaxy S4 AT&T.
Oh, it's an AT&T S4. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what you're doing a little bit. Did you get the information on how to do this from XDA developers by any chance? Because that's the place to go.
Yes, I'm registered.
Yeah. XDA-developers.com is a great forum for people who are doing this kind of thing. Android, unlike the iPhone, Android is designed to be rooted. What is rooting? Well, it's operating as the root user or as a super user, an administrative user. And when the phone comes from the factory, when it comes from AT&T or anybody else, you don't have those privileges because, rightly so, they figure it'd be a bad idea to give the user the ability to delete key system files and stuff like that. So they don't give you root user, but almost all Android phones can be rooted. I guess they figure out... I guess the way they think of this is if you're savvy enough to figure out how to do it, well, you can be trusted to do it. And in fact, I believe Google encourages Android handset manufacturers to allow rooting. Not all do. Some do something called lock the bootloader, which prevents you from doing that. And in this case, that's what's biting you, is you have a locked bootloader. So you might be able to get root privileges.
Actually, no. It's
Did you unlock the bootloader?
Well, there's not quite a locked bootloader on the Galaxy S4. In a way there is, and in a way there isn't.
Well, you're probably more up to date on this than I am, but it's my understanding that if you did the KitKat upgrade to 4.4 over the air, it locked the bootloader.
Well, I have 4.3 right now.
Ah, you might be all right. You might be all right, Grant. So, again, all of this is covered at XDA Developers. That's really the place to go. And because you're a member there, you probably know what to look at. When a company locks the bootloader, I consider that anti-consumer friendly. It's them saying, not only do we not want you to root it, more importantly, we don't want you to put a custom recovery on it.
AKA custom ROM.
Yeah, because the custom recovery allows you to put a custom ROM on. So a recovery, this is all stuff that's in the firmware of the phone. And you know all this, Grant. I'm just explaining for everybody else. The stuff that's in the firmware of the phone is the operating system that the phone boots up into. Now, you normally can't modify that, but the first step in modifying it is rooting it. And then the second step is replacing the recovery software that's on the phone. The recovery software is there for a very important reason. If something goes wrong with the phone, you can recover it, get it back to normal. So there is Samsung recovery software on the phone. You want to replace this by third-party recovery software, probably Clockwork Mod or something like that.
No, Twerp.
You like Twerp, okay. So Twerp or Clockwork are two different very popular custom recoveries. They allow you to do a couple of things. One is to do the normal recovery that the Samsung bootloader lets you do, but the other is to install your own firmware. And that's the key part to modifying the phone significantly. And I think companies like Samsung, the Moto X, you can get the bootloader unlocked. HTC, you can get the bootloader unlocked. Samsung seems to be kind of funny about that. And I think it's because they don't want you to put custom firmware on their phone. They want you to have all that Samsung junk. But the Samsung junk is exactly why you want to modify it, I would guess. Yeah?
Yeah, it's like I get 10 gigabytes of space.
Right. You know, the Galaxy S5 they just announced, 9 gigabytes.
9 gigabytes.
That's worse. They put more junk on there, not less. We were hoping they'd put less on. So it is possible to get twerp on there, but it's gonna, you're asking the wrong person. If you're already over there at XDA Developers, remember when you do modify the phone, you have to use the exact model you have, and usually, because the carriers modify the firmware as well, you have to use the one from the AT&T Galaxy Note 4 or Galaxy S4 rather. You have to make sure you're using the AT&T one. So make sure you do all of that right.
I know what I'm doing. Otherwise, I wouldn't be calling you if I tried to flash, say, the Verizon model.
Well, if you know what you're doing, why are you calling me?
You could do something about it.
Well, what's going on? It says you can't do it?
Look, it's based. I rooted it like that would be.
So you have rooted it and you've got SU on there. You've got the super user program on there, right? And it runs properly, right?
Yeah, it runs properly.
Okay, so that's good. You did the first part is the hardest part. But what's happening when you try to install a custom recovery?
Well, I've actually tried about probably 15 times.
Yeah.
So the first time, you see what happened. I went to Goo Manager, which is a root app, and it allowed me to install Twerk.
Good.
It did it perfectly on the Galaxy S3, so I thought just use the same.
Are you doing this from Windows?
No, it's on the actual phone.
Okay.
It's much easier.
Yeah, it's easier, but sometimes it doesn't work as well. So you'll notice there are a couple of ways to do this. One way to do it is to do it from a computer. Either Linux or Windows, sometimes Macintosh. And usually my experience has been that's going to work better than if you try to do the so-called one-step recoveries that you do from the phone. So my suggestion is that you go back to XDA Developers. Very important if you do this, you follow the instructions precisely. If you still get the error and it doesn't match the error others are getting, post a question there. I'm afraid I don't know the specifics of why you're having trouble, but there are plenty of people on there who probably do. Generally, my experience, and I've rooted all my Android phones. The only ones I haven't rooted are ones that have the Samsung Exynos chipset in there. Your AT&T, you're lucky. You have a Snapdragon processor in there. Samsung really wants to lock these down. They haven't been able to do so successfully with the Snapdragon, but they do with their own Exynos chip. You really cannot effectively replace the firmware on a, in my experience, on a unlocked Samsung phone from Europe. So the American phones seem to be a little bit easier to hack. I would say XDA Developers is the place. I can't give you more information than they have. These guys are the experts. Leo Laporte, and keep up the good work. The Tech Guy. Yeah, I mean, he's way beyond my pay grade. That's cute. How old was he? Do you know?
I didn't. He's called before.
Yeah.
What did that sound? About 9, 10?
No, he's older now. He's 13, I think.
Oh.
Just his, his voice hasn't changed yet. I really don't, the problem is it's all of this stuff is very, very specific. That's why you got to follow instructions very specifically. Make sure you got the right ROM for the model that you're using and all of that stuff. And I'm not sure, it's impossible for me to know exactly what's not going right. He's trying to do a one button solution. That usually it's easier, but that's also more of a one size fits all. I would go in there and do it through Windows, frankly. Oh, Aimless does not like my inset. He finds it very distracting, so he's demanding that I move it or lose it. That makes me really, really like you.
Aimless?
A guy in the chat room.
Hey, did you see that story from last week about the girl that went in the bar and got hassled for wearing
Yeah,
Google
we
Glass?
talked about it.
On another show.
Yeah, she asked for it. I'm not.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I'm not. I feel that we don't know the full story on that one.
True that. And
I think, and I've always said, if you wear Google Glass, I think somewhat the burden is on you to be a little nice.
Right. And what's with just leaving them there the whole time? I mean,
yeah,
it just seems
and
like
taping people who are upset about you wearing glass and then videoing it, especially at Molotov. I don't know. Have you ever been there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a bad idea.
Yeah, I think that's just asking. It's like going into a biker bar and saying, I hate bikers.
Or ordering a really exotic drink and going, how don't you have any umbrellas to put in it? They're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
But
Yeah.
the worst thing is to videotape people who are complaining about you videotaping and then continue to do so.
But in a bar at all, because people are drinking
they're drunk.
and people get
Yeah.
aggro.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the whole layer of politics with regard to Google.
Well, I
and
think a lot of
everybody
it was
coming into
that,
San
yeah.
Francisco and driving rents up
Yeah,
and
I
then
think
and
a
then.
lot of it was that. If that's what that
very
woman said, is
stressy.
you're causing a problem.
We're going to have a civil war.
Yeah. Well,
In the
you know,
city.
it's income inequality, and it's a big problem in this country. And I think they're in the long run. We might have I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a revolution. That's
Okay, but
classically
let's
what
talk
causes
frankly.
revolutions, right?
Right. Exactly. When people are hungry.
Which is why I am on well, and I'm getting solar, and then a very big fence, and lots of guns, because it's mine.
It made you into a survivalist. Remember that movement? But let's talk about those bangs meets the Google Glass. That's where she was really pissing people off, I
Yeah,
think.
don't have bangs and Google Glass. Yeah. Leo Laporte, the tech I love Grant. I think Grant's 13 years old, and he's doing something fairly advanced, which is hacking his phone. Something I encourage you to do. It is not against the law, despite what Apple might say. It's completely legal. In fact, really, messing with the hardware you own is a very important step, I think, in a budding geek's education. I remember taking apart wristwatches and pocket watches when I was a kid. I never could get them back together again. That's how you learn. A Galaxy S4, kind of expensive late model phone to be messing with, so you do want to be extra careful. It's not unusual, though, that especially with some of the Samsung phones, I have a Note 3, same problem. I can root it, but there's nowhere to go after that. I actually could get a custom recovery on it, but there was nowhere to go after that. There were no ROMs I wanted to put on there. And this is a reflection, I wish Samsung had listened, of the fact that people don't want all this junk that Samsung puts on the phones. Nobody wants it. Samsung's kind of trying to replace Google services with Samsung services. And because there's more money in it, and it distinguishes them from other Android handsets. But it just doesn't work as well. And it uses up a lot of space. Samsung does sell through Google Google Play Edition S4. Frankly, if you're going to get an S4 or an HTC One, that would probably be the way to go. Then you get a pure Google experience, none of the Samsung stuff. So I don't know if they're going to do a Play Edition of the S5, though. That would be something to, in my opinion, to wait for. And it's why I actually carry a Moto X. Hardware-wise, its screen's not as big, as bright, as beautiful. Doesn't do all the things. The camera's not very good compared to the Galaxy S4's camera. But it's a pure experience, and I find it much more usable, frankly. 8888 ask Leo. That's the number if you have a question, a comment, a suggestion. David is in Northridge. Hi, David. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yeah, hey, Leo. So, like, on my Android phone, I could sync my photos to Gmail or, email.
Yep.
And I wonder if I could do that with an iPhone.
You sure can, but you have to... well, you said Gmail. Do you mean Google+?
No, not Google+.
Okay, you mean you want to email photos out?
No, I want to back up all my photos.
Yeah, so what you're doing, that's to Google Plus is what you're doing. And you can do that. All you have to do is install Google Plus on the iPhone and go into settings and turn on the backup. That's how it's working on Android as well. It's backing it up to Google. I understand the confusion. It's not Gmail specifically, but it is using that same storage that Gmail uses. And so those images are available to you in your Google account. Typically, people use Google Plus to access and share them, but you could also use Picasa and other tools to do that. So yeah, on the iPhone, all you need to do is install Google Plus and turn it on, and it'll back up. This is actually a very nice feature of all smartphones. In every case, they have at least one, in most cases more than one way, to automatically back up photos. Facebook will automatically back up all your photos to Facebook as you take them on your phone. Google will do it with the Google Plus app. Microsoft will do it with the OneDrive app. They've renamed SkyDrive. They now call it OneDrive. All of them will do this for you automatically. Dropbox will do it for you automatically. That's a third-party program you install. Of course, you have to have a Dropbox account. And I guess the money for them, the money's in it because you tend to want to buy more storage as you back up more and more photos. But I really, really like the idea of photos that I take on my phone backed up for two reasons. One, because I'm not going to lose them. But really, the more important reason, it's much easier to share them. I can then go onto my computer, and they're all there. And I can see them and I can share them. I don't have to sync up the phone or anything. It's just automatically there. Do remember, it will use bandwidth. So if you have limited bandwidth on your carrier's 3G or 4G network, you might want to say, only do this when I'm on Wi-Fi. There is a setting there. That way, it won't be backing up throughout the day, but when you get home or you get to work and you're connected to a Wi-Fi spot where it's not using up your limited bandwidth, it'll automatically do it then. And it does it faster, too. Yeah, they've renamed SkyDrive OneDrive because B Broadcasting, Rupert Murdoch's satellite network in England, says, you can't use Sky. We own the Sky. And Microsoft said, oh, sorry. Oh, my, I'm sorry. Of course. Forget we called it SkyDrive for 3 years. We're going to call it OneDrive. By the way, there's a company that does storage, online storage called OneDrive, and I guess they made a deal with them. I don't know. Let's move on to Tom, finally in Brea. I'm sorry, Tom, to keep you on hold so long. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
No problem, Leo. I always enjoy being able to talk to you, and I love the glasses, by the way.
The star glasses, Elton John, yeah. Yeah, I did a whole concert in between during the ads. It
was great. I just love watching you on Twit Live.
I just try to entertain people. Thank you.
Well, Leo, a few months ago, I called you because I was just hearing people not happy with Windows 8, and seemed like I was a minority. I was the only one that liked Windows 8, so after you and I talked, I thought we solved the problem. Everybody in the world would be switching over to Windows 8.
I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Yeah.
Well, I don't either, and I just saw the other day on CNET or I get these little tech updates at times, and they're saying that Microsoft is thinking about giving away Windows 8.1 because it has such a small percentage of people are using it. And I don't understand it because everyone loves Windows 7, and to me, Windows 8 is just Windows 7 with a different dress. It's like the pretty girl at the dance. She just has a different dress on. So
yeah, I mean, understand that they already do give away 8.1 to the people who own 8, but what they're now this is a rumor. I don't know if it's true. What they're apparently considering is just giving away Windows entirely. And Apple gives away its operating system, but remember, Apple's in the hardware business, so they make the money on the hardware, not on the operating system. Microsoft's a software company. I can't imagine them giving away their software unless they've completely reinvented themselves. But whether you like Windows 8 or not, Tom, you cannot deny that the market share on Windows 8 is very depressing. In fact, it only recently exceeded that of Windows Vista, I think.
And I don't understand that, Leo. I mean, I guess that's the main purpose of the call, was that I don't know why people have such a problem with Windows 8.
Well, remember, same thing happened to Vista. People the word went out that Vista was terrible, whether it was or wasn't, and nobody bought it. And Vista still is a laggard today, 5% of the market. Windows 7, 45% of the market. Windows XP, 40% of the market. Windows 8, 2.26% of the market. And that's...
And I don't get it. Well, the reason...
Actually, that's old. Let me find something more recent for you. But I think it just passed... That's an older one. I think it just passed Windows XP. So.
Well, I think the article I saw, they said 10.3%.
Yeah, it finally got to 10%. So that was an old article. I'll find more recent numbers for you. But nevertheless, very disappointing to Microsoft. I think it's one reason Steve Ballmer resigned as CEO. That and several others. And I do believe that Microsoft is going to reposition itself a little bit. They've historically made all their money on two things, on software, on Windows and Office. But their enterprise business has gotten more and more successful. And here's what I think is happening. In the 80s and 90s, you can very much credit Microsoft with the explosive growth of the computer industry, because Microsoft offered a stable platform on which people could build software. Windows was consistent. It was on more than 90% of all computers. If you were writing programs, if you were a developer, developing for Windows was a safe bet. And that's why we saw this explosive growth. But times, they are changing. We have a much more diverse ecosystem. We've got Android, we've got OS X, we've got iOS. But more than that, we've got the cloud, the internet. And I think what Microsoft's doing is saying the next platform is online. Let's talk a little more after the break. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. "39 weeks pregnant. Congratulations, Metro Scenes. That's awesome. That is really awesome. I'm so happy for you. Let's just put it this way. You're walking through a door. Your life will never be the same. There is no turning back. You're screwed, buddy, but it's screwed in a good way. Having kids is both the hardest thing I've ever done and in many ways the most rewarding thing. It's not an unmixed blessing. You never love anybody more than you love your kids. That's for sure. I don't know if that's a good thing, though, because they don't really love you back to that degree. So that's problem one. It's like the greatest unrequited love of your life. Is that really what you want, an unrequited love?
They'll love you soon once they figure it out.
They love you for the first couple of years, and then once they figure out they don't really need you, and then by the time they're 13, it's like, get out of my way.
You're embarrassing me.
Yeah, but I think as we get a little older, we love them more. But on the other hand, we're not as available either. I mean, my mom would love to see me a lot more. Once a week, she gets to call me, right? So, but your love doesn't diminish, right? You still
right. But see, at some point they'll start having more in common with you as they age.
Right.
And you'll sort of come back together.
Right.
In this circle of love.
Yes. That's a nice way to think of it. You and your parents get along great.
Oh, my God. They're my best friends.
Yeah. See, that's unusual.
How did you know that?
Yeah, you look that way. No, I think that's unusual. I don't think that's typical.
I think you're right. And I really have to.
And your parents are blessed by that. And I think you're blessed by that, too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
They're always, my mom's like, when Christmas time's coming, she's like, we need a little Heather right just
oh,
wow. When I come to the house and spread my special brand of joy.
And then I've brought my dad here to explain to everyone how little he likes me. Hey, Dick, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Your parents are not with us anymore, so that's.
No, but they used to sing the same. They used to sing to me at Christmas.
Heather.
We need a little Dickie.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's what they did sing, the Heather. And I said, well, who's that?
Who's this Heather? Well, she's not been born yet, but you'll know.
You'll know when it happens.
You'll know when it happens. No, I say that because I think, you don't have kids. Dick doesn't have kids. I think people who don't have kids should really understand that it's not like they missed something vital by any means.
Oh.
You missed a lot of heartache.
You missed a lot.
I love my kids to death.
Good
I love them.
Yeah.
But it's a mixed blessing. It's not like, oh my God, you got to have kids. It's not. It's not. Jennifer and I sometimes look at each other and go, why? Why did we do this?
The guy I went out with last night kind of implied that. And I was like, da 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 da.
I got out of being a DJ because I wanted to talk, and I was working at stations where they said, light rock, let's talk. And I'm the talk. So it was like they were advertising, and here's the best part about the station, Leo won't say anything. I realized.
You showed them now, boy.
Yeah, right. I've turned that around, haven't I?
Yeah.
I was just a glorified button pusher. I'd push a button, the song would play. Push another button, the song would play. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Dick DeBartolo. He's the GizWiz, Mad Magazine's maddest writer for many a moon. Yeah. And also all this time, a kind of a crazed gadget hound. And he's got the biggest collection of junk there in Disneyland you'd ever see.
True, that's true.
But some of it's good. There's jewels.
No, absolutely. There are some gems in there.
Yeah, a few.
Under the crap. Yep.
So what do you got for us this week?
Well, you were so impressed last week with the Wowie MIP.
That was
from
neat.
Toy Fair.
$100 robot.
Yeah. Well, I found something else at Toy Fair that this kind of astounded me because the guy came up with a way to make a Bluetooth-controlled paper airplane. Okay.
Dick.
Yes.
It's a paper airplane, Dick.
Yes.
I don't get it.
What really was bizarre about it is that he thought, I'll go to Kickstarter and get $50,000 to develop this.
What?
So after he hit $1.2 million.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. He came up with, it's called the Power Up 3.0 Bluetooth-controlled paper airplane. They're at poweruptoys.com.
Wow.
And it's a little module. It comes with the paper airplane, but it comes with a template. So in case you want to design your own, and you charge this little guy for 15 minutes, and then using your smartphone, you can control the rudder and the speed. It can fly up to 160 feet. And then I said, what does it do when it goes out of Bluetooth?
But do you make
range?
your own airplane? I mean,
you can. You can make your own airplane.
You fold the airplane and you put this module on it.
Exactly. And I said, when you go past the 160-foot range, what happens? He said, well, the module shuts off and your paper airplane becomes a paper airplane. It's really kind of neat. It's not coming out till June, but now with...
this is my problem with Kickstarter. It's not coming out till June. They raised $1 million.
Yeah, $1.2 million.
$1.2 million funded in January. I guess. All right. Okay.
No, I think that's about. I mean, the fact that he had one there that worked, and the fact that he made a video.
So you've played with this. It actually does.
What? We just. He had a very small booth, and he didn't want it to fly out of the booth, but. I did hold it while he showed me the rudder moving, the propeller speeding up and down according to what he was using as the speedometer on his Bluetooth cell phone.
What this looks like to me is those rubber band planes. It's got the propeller and all that stuff, but instead of a rubber band, it's got a motor, and the motor is controlled by an iPhone app, which is kind of cool.
Exactly. Now,
do you have to build a very sturdy plane?
Well, I would probably, until I got a lot of use out of it, stick with the one that's in the box because you realize that. But it's a little heavier than paper. It's more like if you put like 4 or 5 sheets of paper together and then folded it up.
Now, how much is this going to cost me?
It's going to be $50, $49.95.
And the paper airplane is included.
Paper airplane included, exactly.
Well, that's all right. Exactly. PowerUpToys.com. It's an interesting idea.
I think so too.
Yeah. But you haven't actually flown it. You've just seen it kind of.
Well, I just saw his video of it flying, and I did hold it in my hand and watched him control the little module. Yeah, it was pretty neat.
PowerUpToys.com. It'll be $50. I'm going to let you buy the first one.
Okay.
My advice on Kickstarter in general is, people, and Kickstarter will tell you this. It's not a store. You're going there to give them money to invest in a company that may or may not make it. There may or may not ever even be a product. You're not buying something at Kickstarter. You're investing in them.
Right.
With no return.
But you do get your money back if they don't get fully funded.
I don't know. Oh, yes, if they don't get fully funded. But if they get fully funded but don't ever get a product, you don't get your money back.
No, you don't get anything back.
I have a number of Kickstarter projects now more than 2 years old that I never got anything for. So I want to warn people when they see Kickstarter not to just pour money into it. We've lost. Okay. You know what? In a way, I like this. I used to think we were a nation of cynics. Now I don't think so.
Oh yes, you're absolutely right. When you think about it, people have faith.
We believe
in paper airplanes.
In paper airplanes with motors and rudders and Bluetooth. You can find more of Dick DeBartolo at GizWiz.biz. That's his website, GizWiz.biz. He's got details about all of the stuff he talks about, including that giant 3D printer that could print furniture
Right.
Wow.
And a new GizWiz game today is March 1st.
What? So we have a winner on that? Oh, now I got to go back and look. What was that purple arm?
Okay, well, take a real guess. Do you have any real guess?
Well, okay, so I'm looking at it. It looks like it has a clip that would clip on something. I think it's a rear view mirror for your toothbrush.
No, that's a very good. I would give you credit for a silly answer for that. 10 people got it right. It is from Quirky.
Oh, it's from Quirky.
It is the stemware saver for dishwashers.
Oh, I do need that. What is it? If it will save my stemware.
This clicks on to the stem of the glass, and then the other end of it stands up in the dishwasher so that the glasses don't get pushed around or bang up against each other.
Oh, this is a good idea.
You get 4 for.
Now, did anybody guess that?
Yeah, 10 people. The guy said, "Dick, it's so easy. It's just every day in my dishwasher."
Oh.
So people did know. But you know what? I gave a winning mad to a guy who said, "Dick, I think it's a toothbrush extension for people with deep mouths." So very a kickstand for a person with a peg leg.
So now we have a new contest. Obviously, a pacifier for your plug socket, but I don't. That's just my thought. What could that be? It's a close-up of something if you can identify it. So here's the clever way he does that. He's got up to 12 autographed Mad magazines for the right answer, 24 for the best clever wrong answer. Dick will autograph them. You're playing for the June issue of Mad magazine. That means you have all of this month and next to come up with a clever answer.
And it's a real gadget.
All right. GizWiz. It's just for fun. It's a fun game.
It's a fun game.
Thank you, Dick. Stick around. The GizFizz coming up right after the radio show on our Twit network, twit.tv. Okay, I'm going to try to finish up this call, but I'm so short on time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Actually, he's gone. So let's go to Bruce in Beaumont, California. Hi, Bruce. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Let's see if we can get you in here.
Hey, Leo, I know you're running up against the end of the show here, so I'll try to be quick.
Okay.
I upgraded from Windows 7 to Windows 8.1.
Yeah.
And I have a Wi-Fi, but it says my Intel Centrino Wireless N Plus WiMAX 6150 doesn't have a driver for it, but I still have access to Wi-Fi. Can you explain this, mister?
Yeah, so all Windows machines often come with 2 different wireless programs, one from Intel or the company that made the chip, and one from Microsoft. You're using Microsoft's. It's working. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Just say thank you, sir, and move on. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. That's what I'm going to do. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. I'm Leo Laporte. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, the Tech Guy is just the tip of the iceberg. We do nearly 30 shows now on the Twit Netcast Network, and you'll find them all at twit.tv. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPad on iPad Today. You get your daily dose of tech news from Tech News Today, and our weekly roundtable show, This Week in Tech. It's all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next time with another great Tech Guy podcast. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.